jet flying son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. Check, we Ric Flairing on them niggas. It's apparent these girls staring. I'm Ric Flairing, gold across my chest. I'm fresh to death, I'm Paul Bearing, not at all scary. When I open like Betty Wops and find to these circles that's going in like a carry shot. Woo! I'm going in like a Mary Pop off that Mary Crop at the top flow at the Marriott. So questioning me is like questioning you. See, we the best dressed, so come and get blessed with the crew. Not one but two, different ways to slaughter your crew. Committed tat across the chest, I guess she blessed with the truth. People want to see them checks, representation of proof. Living through my elders trying to resonate to the youth. But ain't nothing to get my flash on. Longevity is heavily embedded in my melanin. Layman terms, I last long. My grind repetitive, I'm smoother than real silk. Lyrical cash cow who can't cry over spilled milk. We in here. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. This ain't no normal situation, this preparation with greatness. Industry full of fakeness, it's really up for the taking. See, life is what happened to you, more so how you take it. Don't get stripped of your knowledge and mentally leave you naked. I like to live otherwise. I'm sorry that I'm fresh to death. I put the polo and apologize. See, black son, we ain't nothing like them other guys. Quit to socialize, we organize, then we mobilize. Off the deep end like a scuba diver. And no confusion, just keep it pushing like Uber drivers. Woo! Business fresh just like a supervisor in a Gucci visor. Can't find a smoother rhymer. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. You talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, willing dealing, limo jet flying. We Ric Flairing on them niggas. We Ric Flairing on them niggas.
Yeah, DQ baby. Shout out that boy Nigga for that fire track. Hey, Black Sun, sun up. What's up, Vinny Vegas? What in Vegas? Yeah. Shout out Pharaoh's Kids, D-Phase, yeah, Moseby St, yeah, Ric Flairing on them, Ric Flairing on them, Ric Flairing on them, Ric Flairing, son up, baby.
Yo, Scotty, you going crazy for this one. We see what you're doing, we salute you. Hey, let's get it started. It's Backpack Capital One. What's in your wallet? Got a call from my man A. Scott. I said I got it. Love that you highlighting all of these black colleges. Try to pay me for doing this. Look, bruh, if you don't get off my line with that foolishness, voice of the SWAC, pull up where you at, no cap. If the Brody is speaking the soft facts, my advice, tune in to every show. Captain Petty, but we know that the sergeants are with the smoke. Speculate, just tell me what is we doing. Get into it, okay, look, I'ma say this and keep it moving. My boy Scotty, man, he offered the least. Black grad, paying college, I'm glad that he called me. Walking cause we all been taught that talk is cheap. Even primetime knows Scott for the HBCU streets.
What is going on, everybody? Happy 2022. Okay, it's your boy Scotty, and you're watching OFFScript. All right. And you already know what it is. I'm back with another Afterglow show with my man, KOFI Hemmingway. And we got a special guest in the building today. My man, Perry White from the Jaguar Journal. All right. That's what we doing. We bringing in all the stops today because the main topic, the main question today is, does the SWAC need the NCAA? All right, we're going to get to that question. We're going to get to that topic. Make sure, as my man, Mr. J. Reed said, wipe your feet when you come in, all right? Like the stream is too easy. Let me get to some announcements real quick. All right, listen, you already know I got to pay these bills, all right? Sign up for the OFFScript membership. All right, links in the description below. $4.99, $9.99, $19.99, 3 tiers. No, whatever you choose, whatever you can do to support the channel. All right. Also, podcasts, Apple, Spotify, they get updated whenever I update them because I don't. You get it. You understand. You know how it works. You know how I am. Anyway, so leave a review. Go over there, leave a review. 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. If you love me, you love me. If you don't, you don't. All right. Also, Andrew Buddy! All right. He will be here live January 5th. Live interview with the main man from Texas Southern, the young freshman killing it out there. Andrew Buddy will be here. All right. Also, everyday entrepreneur, okay? If you're a CEO, COO, VP of something, truck driver, bus owner, you know what I'm saying, nonprofit, whatever you do, all right? Send us an email. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll schedule a time with you, and we'll make that happen. And last but not least, bandwagon signing day is January 24th, all right? My top 5 schools are Southern, all right, Grambling, Jackson State, FAM, and Alabama A&M, all right? If you're not part of that top 5, don't send me nothing. Ain't nothing you can do. It ain't nothing you can do to get me on that bandwagon, okay? Unless you name the stadium after me. I don't think none of y'all are doing that, so don't send me nothing. All right. So without further ado, I'll bring in my co-host, my main man, starting the 2022 to off right, Mr. Bo, Strike Bo again. What's up, Mr. KOFI?
Once again, it's strike, and strike again. But you know that. You know that. We training you up right. You being disobedient. You being disobedient.
Hey, listen,
being rebellious.
If you don't notice, my man finally got some headphones so he can hear these callers nice and clear. That's what we was hoping he can do and get down. All right. So listen, we're gonna get to this. We're gonna get into a topic real quick. First of all, Happy New Year. This is the first show of Afterglow in the new year. Happy New Year.
We're gonna get into a topic real quick. Absolutely, man. No. See, I was listening to the little, I had to turn down my phone because everything was all loud and everything. So, yeah, go ahead now.
All right, no, I said you are, we are the first show. This is the first show in the Afterglow 2022. We in here doing it big.
Absolutely, man. We finna make this thing happen. And I stated to you earlier that I believe we're going to have up to 2,000 by Labor Day weekend for the big weekend down there in Miami with FAMU, Jackson State, and also Bethune-Cookman taking on the University of Miami. So that's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. All right, let's get into it. First topic of the day, all right? Oh, wrong one. Okay. Off-script topic. Antonio Brown meltdown on the sidelines, okay? So let me bring up the clip. I know a lot of people have already seen it, but I'm bringing it up. This is the clip of Antonio Brown leaving the sideline on Sunday at his team. As you can see, Mike Evans comes over, tries to talk him out of doing it. Takes his pads off. When I got this, I was like, what is going on right now? Like, people was blowing my phone up like, you see what Antonio Brown doing? You see what Antonio Brown doing? And my ESPN, because I got the ESPN app, is going da-na-na, da-na-na, like every 2 to 3 minutes. This is crazy. Man. Starts throwing his shirt off. I never in my million years would I ever thought. Walks off the stage into the sunset. It's a movie where a player was taking his jersey off and throwing stuff. I could have sworn, what movie was that? Joanna Man. I knew my girl would know. The movie buff of the world. But that is what happened. Kofi, your opinion on Antonio Brown's meltdown on the sideline?
Bro, I mean, for me, I've been wanting Antonio Brown to get evaluated for his mental health, because for me it's obvious that something is off. You know, as you look at him, I mean, just normal people don't do that, and we've seen extroverts at the wide receiver position before. I mean, Chad Ochocinco was an extrovert. He was as dramatic could get. Terrell Owens was as dramatic could get. Even Michael Irvin was as dramatic could get. But there was a normalcy about them. Even with Terrell Owens doing sit-ups in his front yard on the driveway.
Classic.
You know, it was like, hey, well, he's a little bit of a diva, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the vibe that I get with Antonio Brown. With Antonio Brown, I'm getting that something is unstable, and it's been unstable for a minute. Anybody that would be willing to pay their cook to go, the cook of all people, his chef, to go out there and get a fake COVID ID card cannot be possibly thinking straight. Something is wrong with you. And I'm not saying that to down him. I'm saying I have a healthy respect for mental health issues. And a lot of these issues come from the childhood, come from all kinds of levels of trauma. And I'm just disappointed at that the NFL, and I don't know, maybe they can't release that information. Hey, we had him tested, we had him evaluated or whatever. But this is not something, I mean, people have been saying, I know I've been saying, like, bro, like, that is not normal behavior. That is not behavior of somebody that has it all together. This man is suffering mentally, and we're going to Kofi do sound like a pilot with the headphones. Well,
hey, nah, the reason that's funny, Jordan, is I told him that before we went live. I said, bro, you sound like an airplane pilot. If you can please sit down and while we go through turbulence. But go ahead, do your thing. My fault. That's my bad.
Yeah. All right. So, you know, just having all of these mental health breakdowns that he's exhibited over the years, just normal people come back, apologize. You know, just something is chemically out of whack with him. And I need him to get help before he ends up dead. Straight up.
So this is my thing, right? Because I think I watched Undisputed this morning, and I think Shannon went a little too hard on him, if I'm being honest. And I usually love whatever Shannon Sharp does. I think he went a little too hard on him this morning. But there's three, you know, there's always two sides, and there's three sides to every story, you know, your side, their side, and then the truth. So there's three sides to this story. One side, people think it's mental health. The other side is people think that he did this because they kept him out because they didn't want to give him incentives. And then there's another side of the story that says they wanted him to go back into the game. He said he was hurt and he didn't feel he was 100% to play. And when he told him he didn't want to go back in, they said, "You're done here." You know what I'm saying? And that's when he said, okay, and took his stuff off and threw it on the ground and things like that. So with all those being the premise, I'm only going to focus on the mental health part. And this is the reason why I'm focusing on the mental health part, is this has been a pattern for AB. That it's not just this incident right here. It's the pattern of it that has gone back from. So it's like when a guy a girl keeps breaking up with a guy or gets in a relationship and everything happens the same way all over again. At some point in time, it cannot no longer be the other person. You have to look at yourself and say, man, okay, something is wrong with me. Because this happened you had Mike Tomlin, who was a player's coach. I mean, everybody said he's a player's coach. You wore out your welcome there. You go to the Oakland Raiders. You wear out your welcome there. You barely play there. You go to the Miami Dolphins. You have the incident with the Miami Dolphins. Then you go to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady takes up for you. I mean, Tom Brady is like the Nick Saban of washing sins away. You know how old coaches who don't do well, they go to Nick Saban, they give him 2 years, and now they feel like they're the best thing walking. It's the same thing with Tom Brady. Tom Brady, you can be trash. You come to Tom Brady, he washes your sins away, and then next thing you know, you like the best thing again. So if you go to and I'm so serious. If you go to Tom Brady and he does it, and shout out to BJ Jones, he's the one that gave me that joke. But if you go to Tom Brady and he can't even fix you, like what do we do? And the Patriots. He went to the Patriots. Oh, come on, man. I mean
the Patriots, the Raiders, where they accept crazy as normal. All of these things, man, it's just very disappointing, but it's clear, as you stated, this is a pattern of behavior that has not changed, and nobody's addressed the big elephant in the room. I just want to see my man get evaluated and get the help that he needs. Now, the thing about just mental health patients is they have to be the ones to initiate it. We can talk to we're blue in the face and X, Y, and Z, but they have to be the ones to say, hey, I want help. They have to be the ones to admit themselves. We can't just throw them in there, which is disappointing because, for me, I personally want to grab him by a rope and just, bake a rack. Because something is off.
I like, once again, if it is mental health, I hope he gets the help that he needs, because as we grow in the society, more understanding, people are understanding of mental health, and they know that mental health is real. But the thing is, and we can kind of, I don't want to touch on it too much, but being a black man, and we know how black people as a culture look at mental health, and we don't really, let's be real. A lot of parents, saying growing up, it was like, just, you okay? Listen, this
look, black parents just don't want to play that copay. That's what that is. It's like, look, how much is that copay? That's about $80. Wait, is that $150? Let me see if you okay. Let me see if you stable. Let me slap you one good time and see if you go get it together. Just those things. Let's talk about it. Let me take you to your pastor. These kinds of things. But mental health is mental health. It's just like heart issues, cardiovascular health. I want to say joint health. It's the same thing. Reproductive health. You have to get over the stigma. We have to get over the stigma, or we're going to lose a whole lot of people, because black people go through a ton of trauma, bro.
Mm-hmm.
A ton of trauma. You're raised in the hood. Okay. Not saying that every hood experience is traumatic, but you're dealing with, just family issues with your mom, that not necessarily being a stable environment, getting in trouble at school. That's traumatic. Getting in the legal system, people labeling you as bad, and all this stuff. All of these things are issues. Where is his dad? I've never seen his dad. You ever seen his dad? I saw Michael Jordan's dad.
Oh yeah, everybody know Michael.
I know Kobe's dad. I know Tiger Woods' dad. And I'm not saying that just people without fathers are just automatically dysfunctional, but that is a measure of trauma that comes along with that. And to see him just disrespect authority on a consistent basis, the way that he does it, and just to completely off his rocker with some of the things that he does, he needs a mental health evaluation ASAP.
Bet. All right, let's get Mr. Perry White in here for the next topic. What's going on, Mr. Perry? Talk to us.
What's going on, man?
Nothing, chilling. All right, so listen, guys. I wanted to bring you guys on for, and Mr. Kofi's already, but I wanted to bring you on, Mr. Perry. And this is a topic that you brought up in a Facebook group, Mr. Kofi. Why do black student athletes choose PWIs with racist history? And Kofi, if you can break down where that stemmed from and what made you pose that question.
I was watching the Sugar Bowl. Okay. I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, watching the Sugar Bowl. It's got Ole Miss and I want to say Baylor. So they playing on TV, and they went to a sideline clip. And I saw the black cheerleaders on the Ole Miss sideline. They were just jumping up and down. And I'm sitting up there like, what in the world? I'm saying the black football players, I mean, they're giving each other high fives. I mean, I'm like, Do y'all know the history of Ole Miss? Like, my thing is that I've not seen them. If they have, forgive me, but I've not seen them openly acknowledge the fact that their school was way out of whack or out of order. For that matter, I haven't even seen the University of Alabama, for that matter, get up before the people, get up before the nation and say, look, our past is jacked up. We acknowledge the fact that our past is jacked up. And we want to apologize. We want to throw ourselves on the mercy of the nation to say that this type of behavior is unacceptable and we're not going to allow it to happen again. But when I saw that, I was just like, why are these bruhs so gung-ho about playing at the University of Mississippi? I mean, let alone cheering for him. Now, my mom grew up in Mississippi, right? So she told me all of the horror stories that she experienced just as a child. For instance, having to jump in a ditch on the way to school, walking away from school because they didn't know if the truck was had a white person in it who could possibly rape a young black woman or a young black girl. You know, just all of these different things. But I mean, the history at Ole Miss, they still freaking call it Ole Miss. Ole Miss. They still had a rebel on the sidelines not that long ago. And I was talking with Javon Sneed, who was the quarterback when Ole Miss beat the University of Florida and Tim Tebow went in that long monologue about we never gonna lose again, blah blah blah. I was talking with him, man. He was like, bruh, if I had to do it all over again, I would straight up go to a HBCU. I really would. He said, man, I got hurt and everything changed. I mean, they totally disregarded my health. They treated me like I was just a piece of trash and I didn't matter anymore. And I'm like, why in the world are why are people just in a rush to just go and play at Ole Miss of all places to play? I'm just like, wow, like I'm just dumbfounded. So that's how the topic got started.
Got you. What you got on that, P?
Man, that's a tough one because I think a lot of times you got to look at what's accepted in society. A lot of people think the grass is green on the other side. So no matter if that school has a racist history or not, you look at the opportunities that come with to a PWI that you think will be better for you and your family. And for a lot of these guys, I mean, they don't have no options. You know, it's either get out or you stay in. So it looks great when you get a chance and you go on one of these recruiting visits at these schools and see what they break out for you. They roll out the red carpet. You get to see the amenities. They're going to tell you where you're going to stay, what you're going to get. They're going to introduce you to all these people who you feel like have money, who can change your life at any given time. They're going to walk you through these facilities that you feel like are going to help you improve whatever you're trying to do in terms of on the football field or just athletics as a whole. You know, they're going to show you all of these trainers and all of these people that they're going to introduce you to, and that's going to look good. For a guy that come from nothing who's looking to try to have something in life, I think those are opportunities that it's just hard for him to turn down. And then you got your mom or whoever else with you saying, look at those things that they have. Look at those good things that you can have in your life. And that's hard for a kid to turn down. And you're not really paying attention to the racist history. For a lot of these cats, I mean, they're student athletes, but the situations they coming from with their parents, the situations they coming from in terms of the things that they've been exposed to, they just looking to get out. And I think that's what make it hard when you look at why are these guys still choosing PWIs when we clearly see the racist rhetoric that they use. Some Ole Miss, I think, still play a racist song, or they maybe just stopped in terms of, I think, Dixie or
bro.
Something like that.
Yeah, Dixie song, or fight for Dixie, or Dixie song of the South, something like that. But they changed that in 2013. They took out they stopped singing it.
And these cats don't care, man. They just looking at what's in front of them at the moment. You know, and so those opportunities look good. And it's kind of hard as we continue to say, why don't these guys come home to HBCUs? Because, I mean, outside of what Jackson is doing with Coach Sanders, and I think you look at who they had in their recruiting, he chose Deion Sanders, not Jackson State. And that's just real. He chose Deion Sanders. And that played a huge part into his decision-making. It wasn't necessarily the facilities that Jackson State had or anything of the amenities. It was the guy who he felt could teach him be best at his position. And so, you know, I wish HBCUs would have a glamour look or some type of look that will ultimately affect and get these guys. And then I look at it from a different perspective, and y'all just go here with me. A lot of people who sometimes make it in life, you may be first generation or second generation HBCU graduate or going to an HBCU, and you finally get that job. You know those old stories where people say your family dropped you off, you know, mom and dad didn't have a college degree, but they dropped you off. All you had was the clothes in your garbage bag or in your bag, and you had to make it happen. You only went home for the holidays. There was nothing else to it. You were at school to get education. That's what you did. And because you got your education, now 20 years later, you have a career, you're making some money. You live on the other side of town now. You send your kids not to the public school, but to the private school. But when your kids are at that private school, what are they getting exposed to? They're in a new culture, a new atmosphere, mostly predominantly white. Mm-hmm. And so they're in there here, and I tell people all the time, this is where you have that separation when you even start to talk about FCS schools, the PWI, FCS, and the HBCU. When those kids are at school, to them, and I'm in Louisiana, what's sounding cool amongst their classmates on where they're going outside of the big state school like LSU, they're talking about McNeese, they're talking about Nichols, they're talking about Northwestern State. They're in a whole nother realm. So what seems to be accepted for them is the conversations that they're hearing for the people that they're around. So that seems like that's the better place, the better choice. Nobody's really bringing up the Southerns or the Gremlins. And that's what makes it hard for a different generation of kids who are choosing PWIs. Not just the kid that has the struggle that wants to make it out and looking for the opportunities, but then for the kid that comes, I like to call the silver spoons, quote unquote, where your parents live on the side of town. They down said, I'm never going to allow you to go through the struggles of what I had to go through. And so now they're exposed to this new lifestyle, these new friends, this new community. And what seems good is PWI. You will go to the ULs and the Louisiana Techs and the ULMs and think it's better for you than going to the Southerns or the Gremlins or the Jackson States. And so those are the two perspectives for me of why I think people, when we look at Black student athletes, continue to choose PWIs, especially with the racist history that they have.
So I'm gonna bring up a quote after I say this, but my question back to you guys is, are we asking 17, 18, 19-year-old kids to change a dynamic with their life? You're asking a kid like a Travis Hunter. He's putting his life, his envision of his life to change the thought process, to change the mindset of other kids like him or who are coming up the pipeline to make those decisions and to be impactful as he is or as he was for going to pick a Jackson State. Because I heard him in an interview where he's talking for the All-American, and he has the number 5 linebacker beside him, and they asked the linebacker, you know, has Travis tried to bring you to Jackson State? And he says, yeah, but that's him. That ain't me. You know, he's speaking for him. You could just see, and I'm not taking a shot at the kid, you can see the disdain, like, I'm not doing that. Like, you could just see it on his face. And his peers, Travis Hunter's peers, are looking like, what are you doing, man? Like, but this kid is putting his life on the line. And what I mean by that is not dying for anything, but what I'm saying is the path that he saw for his life in going for Jackson State. Are we asking these 18 and 19-year-olds to do too much, to have too much
social
burden?
awareness?
Yeah, to do that, because if I flipped the reverse, if I brought, if I took myself back at 18, 19 and I was a Travis Hunter, I don't know if I could make that decision because of the dreams and aspirations I have to play for the next level. And I've seen that path continually happen at the schools that have recruited me and stuff like that. So that's my question. But I'm gonna bring up a quote while you guys discuss that.
Well, for me, just really with
Hey, KOFI, you breaking up. We can't hear you.
HBCUs have come a long way. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good now.
Can you hear me? Because I can't hear a thing.
We can hear you though.
I'm gonna log out and I'm gonna log right back in because I can't hear anything. Give me a second.
All right. So while he does that, let me show this quote real quick. So this is the quote, right? From a 2019 article that Jemele Hill wrote. It's in the description below. It's I believe it's called like black kids need to start leaving white institutions. It says, I have a hard time saying this. Lavelle Moulton, the head basketball coach at North Carolina Central, an HBCU that has won 3 consecutive MEAC conference titles, told me, black people, I love us, but everyone else understands that we're the culture except for us. Audiences and money are going to come wherever the product is. We don't understand that, and we continue to give ourselves away for free. Man, when I read that, I was like, wow, that is really, really powerful. What do you got to say about that, P? P, can you hear me?
I think it's just a mindset. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, P. KOFI, can you hear me?
You got me? I think it's a mindset when you talk about giving away things for free. We don't really understand the value and the wealth into a lot of things that we do in our community, man. And until NIL with this now happening, I think with this coming about, it gives us a little bit of opportunity to learn our value and our wealth. I think you did it once on your show. You looked up how much a 4-star or a 5-star guy was worth to a university. You remember when you did that?
Yeah.
How much did it say that one of those guys in terms of a 4-star was worth to the institution?
A 5-star was worth $500,000, I believe. And then a 4-star was like 300,000, something like that.
You know, the value that one of those guys have by the power of the star that's next to their name, you know, and they're willing to give this to these schools, man, because these schools say, we'll give you an education. You'll be well off if you come here. You'll have a better quality of life. You'll be a part of an alumni system or whatever, you know, that'll be able to get you through life. And these guys are looking at these opportunities as though they can't get it nowhere else. But the glitz and the glamours that come with it at these schools, man, is just, to be honest, it's hard for a lot of these guys to turn down. You know, you look at the infrastructure of the schools, you look at the structure and the systems of how operations are ran, you look at how they're treating you in terms of, it's like everybody's kissing up to you. They letting you know you are this big guy that's around the program. The ladies are letting you know when you walking around campus with whatever that PWI logo and name on it, if it's that official football game, you already know they're going to holler at you. It's a whole nother world, and I'm not saying we don't have it at HBCUs, but it's hard to match that world. And a lot of people don't realize it until you know a loved one or a friend or a cousin or a young man who has been recruited by these big schools and see what they put behind it. Man, it's off the charts, and it's hard to compete with that. And it's hard to get somebody to see different to go against that when they see all of these opportunities. They're not looking at a racist history. PWIs, we still to this day know that they're predominantly white institutions. They just dropped the PWI part and just became a school or a college or an institution or a university. And so for them dropping that side of it, the same way we hold on to HBCU. When you hear HBCU, you automatically associate that to what? African-American, black, or something of that nature. But with them dropping PWI, it kind of erases that ownership of that this was founded for white people. And for a lot of these guys and their families and the opportunities that they're looking for, they missed that part to look into the racist history, and they don't care. They're looking at the moment of what's happening now.
Now, it is funny that you brought that brought what you said about the mindset, because I was talking to Keela, and she brought up a good point when we had a discussion. She said, well, you also have to count the factors that a lot of these kids are coming from. You're talking about, impoverished neighborhoods. So they can't just think about themselves. They have to think about, I got to make it for my family to make it. And those are a lot of aspects that a lot of white kids do not have to think about. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the black household, a lot of these 5-star, 4-star athletes are coming from impoverished neighborhoods, and their whole mindset is, I gotta make it I gotta go to the top school to get a shot to go to the pros. And for them to take that HBCU path is like, I can't leave it to chance that I make it. by going to an HBCU, if you get what I'm saying.
And a lot of them simply just don't know about an HBCU, man.
That's true.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, we are in a bubble in which, as supporters of Black college sports and these universities, there's not a huge number like it once was in terms of the level of notoriety of people knowing that look like us that know about HBCUs in 2021, because there's so much variety, there's so many options nowadays. You know, I continue to bring up Louisiana. That's where I'm at. You know, back in the day, it was LSU, Southern Grambling. Black folks chose between Southern Grambling. The other ones chose and went to LSU. Now you got Southern, Grambling, LSU, Nichols, McNeese, Northwestern, UL, Louisiana Tech, Louisiana Monroe. You have options. And those options are available for everyone. And so it becomes harder for people to make those decisions when you got so many options and you're not keeping up with the times, which that's something we really have to do, as I say, with the marketing standpoint of showcasing who we are, telling the stories of who we are. So when you get those hot days where everybody's clicking your social media, Jackson State was the #1 trender on Twitter the day when they got the #1 pick on National Signing Day. So that means at some point somebody clicked Jackson State's Twitter handle to find out more about Jackson State. And as they clicked their Twitter handle, they probably saw a school page link or a YouTube channel or a band link or a link to athletics or something where it continue to find out more and more and more to spark your interest. And for a lot of these schools, they have that type of media, that marketing, that PR standpoint to where they can sell their institutions through visuals and whatever else, where we're lagging behind as we try to sell and market ourselves to these kids.
I don't know if you heard the question, Kof. The question was, or the statement that I made was that a lot of these kids don't have the luxury to just focus on academics because they're coming from impoverished neighborhoods and they want to, you know, there is them and their family they're trying to bring to the pros so they can take them all out the hood. So they don't have that leeway to say, you know what, I'm gonna give an HBCU a chance because I hope it gets me to the NFL. They want that guarantee, so to speak, to go to an Alabama, to an Ole Miss, to a SEC school that says, as long as I go here and I play here, I can make it to the pros. No matter how bad the statistics are about that, you know what I'm saying? If you really want to break the numbers down, it doesn't make sense, but that's the logic going into that.
I get it, man. It's disappointing, but it's all the more reason I look at it as a challenge for HBCUs to get their houses in order, really from the standpoint of giving the kids the necessary resources so that in the event of an injury, they can go on ahead and have the academic support that they need to get to the next level. You know, even from, and now we got to have a whole NIL staff thing to help our kids be able to navigate that whole system properly, because I don't feel like our kids need to miss out on that. There's plenty of opportunities that's out there, but our people do perish for a lack of knowledge. And from what many people say is the NIL thing has really been here the whole time, especially at the PWIs. So that's one of the ways that they've been able to, I want to say, profit it. I remember who was the running back at the University of Georgia that went to the Rams. He was running back for the Todd Gurley. Yeah, Todd Gurley was making money off of his name, you know, and then somebody, you know, blew the whistle on it, and, you know, the rest is history. But that has been going on for some time, and it's kind of like really disappointing, man. My mind was just dumbfounded at that, man. And we just have a long way to go. I just trip out when I go to Alabama, or I see, and, you know, I just see so many of our people wear the Alabama gear, and it's like, Roll Tide. I'm like, are you serious? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, you know, Roll Tide, you know, Ole Miss. All right. Yeah. Come on, people. Come on.
Kofi, I put this quote up while you were having your technical difficulties, and this is the quote. Sir. The quote says, "I've had a hard time saying this," by Lavelle Moulton, the head basketball coach of North Carolina Central. That's won 3 consecutive MEAC titles. He says, "Black people, I love us, but everyone else understands that we're the culture except for us. Audiences and money are going to come wherever the product is. We don't understand that, and we continue to give ourselves away for free.
That's a true statement. That's a true statement, you know. And it's really, for me, it's a knowledge thing. It's a knowledge thing of the things that we are, I want to say, exposed to at a young age, even at an older age, understanding how these things happen. It's just, I mean, my light literally like came on just a few years ago because I began to understand the difference between influence and authority. You know, it's like, well, we can march till the cows come home, right? But the authority comes with the people that are sitting in the legislature writing the laws, signing their name on stuff that make the changes in our state. So, you know, it's our HBCU graduates, it's our HBCU students, it's our community of veterans that are out there that actually need to be in a place and in a position so that they can change the flow of what's happening with our institutions. And because so many of us lack the necessary information to make an intelligent decision, that's what keeps us on from the outside, keeps us on the outside looking into something where we need to be on the inside looking out. So that's just this. Yeah, that's just a shift that we're gonna have to make.
Now, this is I'm gonna say this before Perry's having technical difficulties as well, but this is what I want to bring this up, and I'm gonna bring this up to. He says Travis Hunter would have never went to JSU if it wasn't for Deion. He only went to JSU because of Deion. Now, this is my thing. This is where I keep trying to tell people that say that the SWAC does not need celebrity hires. This is where I differ for them, because where the white schools in the Power Fives and the SE schools, where they beat you at is in facilities and resources. All right. So to counteract that, you have to have the celebrity that overshadows those resources. So if you have a Ray Lewis, he is the resource. You know what I'm saying? He is the hot tub. He is the players lounge. He is the PlayStations and all. He is all of that for your kids because he's that exciting. He is that innovative. He's that mindset that you're trying to pick. You don't have that mind at an Ole Miss. You don't have that mind at a Vanderbilt. You don't have that personality, that character at a, you know what I'm saying, at a Mizzou. You know what I'm saying? So you have to counteract what they're doing because your facilities aren't there yet. Your facilities won't get there yet, right? In this span of time that you're in right now. So that's why I was telling the PVs, the Alabama States, the Southerns, you got to capitalize on getting the celebrity to now the celebrity is the resource to bring in those and attract those 4-star and 5-star guys that want to play at your program and things like that. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, it's true. It's true. Either you're going to have that celebrity or you're going to have a head coach that has that kind of aura and energy to connect with them on a relationship basis, which is possible. But, you know, HBCUs, you need all hands on deck. I mean, you need all hands on deck. I remember even when Frederick Humphreys was our president, he was out recruiting your Harvards, your Yales, your other Ivy League schools for black scholars because he was in the building and the other presidents of these institutions were not. So he could literally establish a relationship with a kid that wasn't even considering Florida A&M University, but he was able to sell it because he was able to establish a relationship and he was in the room. We've got to believe in ourselves and believe in our product and stop leaving our product up to the people that run the university. There's so much more that we can do to, I want to say, elevate our programs, elevate our mindsets, elevate the facilities, elevate, you know, whatever the coaches need. But we got to have those dialogues so that people are informed so that we can get certain things done. You know, as you know, just driving around, and I'm not putting down Jackson, but Columbia, South Carolina is pretty much like the same way in a lot of ways. You know, you got potholes everywhere. At what point do you fix those so that your city becomes more attractive, so that you can bring more businesses in? You bring those businesses in, that brings additional resources in. Those resources turn around and sponsor a school like a Jackson State University, who's really the only game in town. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, that's the type of stuff that I look for. But as long as people are complacent about it, it does not change. So, you know, it's just one of those things, man. I think that, you know, you benefit from it. But the main thing that HBCUs need, they need somebody that believes that they can get the job done. And they need somebody that's going to put the work in to elevate the program. Once you get the wins, everything else will definitely begin to line up and come, because everybody loves a winner.
No, that's true. No, that's big facts. Everybody freaking loves a winner. Everybody does. Let me see.
I mean, even if you look at, while you're doing that, even if you look at what's happening with Buddy Pugh and South Carolina State, this is the most energy that school has had in quite some time. People were basically leaving them for dead as an institution. And lo and behold, they win the Celebration Bowl, and now there's a new energy and a surge of, I want to say, respect for Buddy Pugh, the Bulldog football program, and I want to say the university at large, man. I think it's definitely a win-win scenario for them, and it's going to help them out tremendously, not just for this year, but in years to come, because they're going to be back again next year.
So Dr. Lori Wilson says HBCUs are underfunded. And shout out to Dr. Lori Wilson.
That's a rattler right there.
HBCUs are underfunded and cheated every year at the state level. Don't blame the victim. Now, this is my thing. Because I know if I had the call lines open, I know Mr. Campbell would be the first one to say this. But should HBCU schools start looking at themselves as privately funded? And let me have a caveat when I'm saying this, right? Is because you know in the back of your mind, you're not going to get everything you need from the state. You've seen that over time. So is it now? Because this is my point. This is why I saw this, because this really made me mad when I saw this, right? This made me upset when I saw this, because you have celebrities who have never gone to he has never taken a class at the University of Southern California, right? So what I'm saying is, why are we not using the people that we have in power to fund these schools, right? You're going to get the little bit of state funding that you do get, but why are we not using more celebrities and more private funding to institute what you're doing?
And you have to have somebody with that skill set that understands how to navigate that arena. You know, the person that was giving out all that money to the HBCUs, I want to say last year in 2021 and 2020, record numbers of donations. That happened because they wanted to do it, but it also happened because those particular HBCUs had somebody in their infrastructure that could be able to go in and, I want to say, galvanize that institution or gather that money, establish that relationship, put those little cliques out there. And that's what your university presidents are there to do, is to host those types of parties that invite those individuals in so that they will become a part of the fabric of your institution. It's the same thing as to why so many HBCUs give those honorary doctorate degrees to celebrities so that they can turn around and hopefully become involved and engaged. But, you know, it's an art to it. But going back to Dr. Lori Wilson's comment, the thing that I want to say is, again, going back to, now that we know this, what's the move? Okay, are we just going to stay and just be like, okay, we're underfunded, or are we going to get involved in government and raise up candidates that are going to turn the tide back towards our institutions, make sure that we have the resources, the necessary resources to be successful? You know, even if you look at that, you know, that's what happened with your Tennessee State. That's what happened with the Maryland institutions. And what needs to happen with all HBCUs? They owe us some money. So, in the words of South Florida based song, "Loose my money, honey, give my money."
Because I'm not saying that states, and I've heard this from a lot of people, that state funding is not where it's supposed to be. Mr. Campbell sent me article after article about University of Florida getting top dollar, South Florida getting their money, and then FAMU goes 2-3 years without getting state funding checks. But listen, that's like you knowing that your unemployment check is going to be $1,100. You know it. You know your unemployment check gonna be $1,100. You know your rent is $1,800. You got a month to get it. You got to go get it. You got to go get it. And it's not saying you don't deserve your $1,800 to get to make a living, but you know what you're not going to get. So at this point in time, now, how do I use the resources that I have, i.e. a Will Packer, i.e. a Kodak Black who's from Florida, i.e. all these rappers, these high status people, how are we networking to get them involved into supporting an HBCU? And how can we do, what can we do? Because if you bring a Kodak Black to FAMU, that's heavenly, because everybody in Florida loves Kodak Black. All the black kids love Kodak Black. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, what are we doing to close that gap in funding outside of just waiting for the government to give what they want? What you got on that, P?
I came in on the back end of it, but I would say it sounds like you're saying, how do we involve major figures in the community, or, major figures in kids' life to be associated with HBCUs?
Yeah, let me give you a full round spectrum. I feel like Dr. Lori Wilson said that she made a comment that said that the state hasn't been giving the funding to schools. Don't blame the victim, which I understand. My thing is this: you already know. I said should HBCUs start looking at themselves as a private institution, because you got to go out and get this money. You got to, because of the simple fact, you're not going to get what you're supposed to get from the government. So change the mentality and say, let's go get the rest of what we deserve and figure out a way to do that and things like that. If that means getting celebrities and corporations and entities like that to fund into the HBCUs, that's what I was saying. So I brought up the picture of Dr. Dre donating $70 million to Southern California before his daughter went there, mind you, because everybody's like, his daughter, he did it before his daughter went there, and one, like, stuff like that.
I would say first, Dr. Dre, just because he black don't necessarily mean he knows HBCUs. Mm-hmm. He just knows what he grew up around in LA, and that's here in the University of Southern California. So being pushed in that direction the same way we grew up in the South, and we look at, I knew about the University of Arkansas at Palm Bluff because my mom went there. And then I learned about Southern because I watched the Bayou Classic as a kid before I went to a Bayou Classic. It's about the branding and the marketing, and we want to get these people involved in what we are doing. We got to be able to showcase that they're involved in what we're doing. Branding and marketing today is key. This is a new customer, which we look at as a student, whether it's a student athlete or whether it's a student as a whole. This is a new customer. It's a new day and age in how you have to interact and how you pull them in. You're not finna go on no recruiting trip and hand a kid these days a brochure about your school. They're not gonna walk around with a brochure. They're gonna throw that down, hand it off, throw it in the trash, pass it around. But if you want to know about your school, you gotta have a QR code. You got to have something where they can click, or a link to something where they can click and watch and be a part to see what you're doing and who's involved in what you're doing. Mm-hmm. If FAMU has LeBron James and Nike on board, when you go to whatever site that they have and you're recruiting a student, whether it's a student athlete or just an average student that wants to enroll, you have to give them something of that nature, because this is the generation of a kid and a student that is a new customer for you potentially at your school. Is going to have a phone in their hand. It's going to have some sort of technology, and it's not necessarily reading, it's more so of watching. And so if we're going to get these celebrities involved and these alums, we have to be able to keep up with the times. I think for a lot of our schools, and I called it out on some levels in terms of what these kids call lame, A lot of our schools are lame to the new generation kids because it's not keeping up with what they're keeping up with. If you go following up, I know I'm probably gonna get some whatever, to hell with it. Follow the University of Georgia and watch them in terms of the process that they were showing on Instagram and Snapchat in terms of not just athletics, but the school leading up to their big game in the playoffs. I'm just using Georgia, and I'm not saying SEC to SWAC, but it's the idea of just knowing how to keep up with the people that you ultimately want to be your fans, the people that you ultimately want to be your new students, your alums to give back. You are in the area, in the domain that you know they're at all the time because everybody on their phone is on at any given time, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever social site. And they're just not posting a flyer and telling you this is the information, follow the information. They're being creative in terms of the visual that they're showing. And we got to find out a way to how to be more creative in the visual for the new age student so we can begin to expand and get into those areas where a Dr. Dre that's in LA doesn't know about necessarily, may not be as informative on an HBCU the way that we are, but being in LA and being right there next to Southern Cal, it only seems right for him to do so with Southern Cal being so close to his community and his neighborhood. Not necessarily meaning they're doing whatever to help, but it just seemed right in his mind. So we got to be able to do a better job at selling ourselves, man. And that's keeping up with the times, being active on social media. Kids ain't really looking for no damn email no more. But if you can do something creative, find out their Instagram or tag them to something or make them a part of that, that's where they're getting that information at. They're looking at an email from a school and be like, okay. But if you're able to keep up with them, you're able to sell it, then you expand your horizon because what looks cool to the new age kid is deciding where they're going to school. And for a lot of them, these PWIs look cool because they're keeping up with the trends and the fads that they're doing, and it's keeping up with the technology that they're using. And we got to jump on board of that if we're going to survive and watch our institutions in terms of enrollment grow. You know, not just be okay with the 5,000 students here, 2,000 students there, 8,000 students there. There are a lot of these schools out here with 20,000 students, 15, 25,000 students. Their online programs are booming.
That's facts. That's facts.
The
All
more
right,
students get for your athlete, you know, so we can make this stuff look cool. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna bring this comment up because the next topic is where I really want to get to. But I want to say this before I go to the next topic. Mr. Kofa says we can't act like starting a 100-yard dash with everyone white at the 50 is fair and turn around and blame HBCUs. Okay, this is at what point? Because what frustrates me is we understand. My mom has been telling me since I was 4 years old that being a black man in America, to get half as much, you have to work twice as hard. That's a black standard. So we all understand that. So just because your institution is a part of that as well, doesn't mean it's something new. If my mom is telling me that, that means she heard that from her dad. Her dad heard that from, it has been generation after generation. So to act like this is something new because we're talking about schools is foolish.
Right.
That's my issue. Right. We all understand that. Every black person on this chat has probably told his or her daughter that you're going to work twice. You have to work twice as hard to get half as much. So there should be no question how great you are. Mama used to tell me that all the time. When you do something, do it so well that they know it's you. That it's no way that they could have. Abrion did that. Only he could have done that because you can't leave nothing to chance being black. You know what I'm saying? So it just bothers me.
Yeah, it takes knowledge, and more importantly, it takes strategy. It takes strategy, it takes communication, and you have to remain engaged. You know, your young people or our young people have to be a part of the whole strategic campaign. Because take FAMU, for instance, Dr. Larry Robinson is probably not going to be as skilled on an Instagram or a Snapchat as somebody young is. So having them engaged or figuring out how to bridge that particular gap, not only for the academic side, but also for the athletic side, so that we can be a part of that whole initiative and game. You know, young people play a part of it, and then you're involving the next generation of students into your whole alumni. Those students are going to turn around and be your alums, and then they're going to be able to engage more people into your alumni association, who's going to turn around and give back to your institution. So it's a lot of moving parts here, but you know, it takes somebody that has that understanding and that leadership capability to get that done.
All right, let's get to the next question because I know people have been waiting for this. And the question of the day is, should the SWAC break away from the NCAA? All right, now I pose this question to both of y'all one-on-one. I told y'all where I wanted to go with this, and I'm going to give my opinion first, right? And this is where I came up with the question because every single time I bring up a play-in option, an option to do more for football, to gain more money or whatever, everybody calls into the comments and says, oh, Scotty, the NCAA, Scotty, the NCAA, Scotty, the NCAA. And I'm like, what are they good for? Because I can bring up a chart right now that the funding that most schools get to their programs are from student fees and government institutions. NCAA is a very small portion of what actually funds your program. So my thing is this: if they're not dealing with the funding, so now you're there for the guidelines. You're just there for the guidelines and being part of an institution. And if the SWAC and the MEAC broke away and did their own thing, which they already are doing anyway. If we're being honest, you're not participating in the playoffs. You're already doing your own thing, and you already don't care about an out of conference game. So let's just keep it all buck and just do your own thing. You can have as many playing games as you want. You can get your own sponsorship. ESPN is still going to sponsor you for your stuff. You can add 6 playing games if you want. It just, to me, there's more possibilities in what you're doing than if you don't want 63 scholarships, you want 70 scholarships because you're not held back by the NCAA guidelines. It's just a lot to that, but I'm going to pose that question to you guys. Should the SWAC break away from the NCAA? Anybody can go first. It don't matter to me.
I was waiting on my brother's finger to go up. Oh, he pointed at me. Okay. All right. So I have mixed emotions about it, but I'm going to say they need to make a faith move and do it. If finances is the goal, in order to do that, you have to define what our goal is. And if the goal is just simply because we're competing with the NCAA on every other level except for probably football. All right. So we need to be able to properly define what it is that we want out of the deal. If the HBCU national title is the most important thing, then being able to define that in terms of what it is and how we're going to get there, all of that has to be defined first. Now, should we do it? Financially, absolutely. Unequivocally, we should do it. My only reservation is infrastructure and governance, because you have to have rules, because when things are not defined, people break those rules and then you have total chaos. So outside of that whole rule thing, absolutely. There should be, I'd like to see us all come together. The CIAA, the SIAC, the SWAC, the MEAC, and everybody just come together and do it. And I think it'll be big, and it'll be a huge moneymaker and an opportunity for our athletes and institutions.
So you're saying break away from the NCAA?
Yes, it could
Correct.
be. So he said yes. I'm saying if it could be individually just football, it could be the whole, whatever, you could break it down however you want, but go ahead, P.
Well, I was just making sure that was his stance on it, because I think I'm going to be opposite of that. I think I'm going to say stick with the NCAA. I think it's not necessarily the finances, because when you look at the finances come through mostly TV deals, and those TV deals come through the rights of ESPN and the NBCs and the Fox Sports and whoever else, and not necessarily governed by the NCAA, but between the institutions and the conference to whatever network that they're signing up with to broadcast potential games on a wide perspective. And I think when you look at the NCAA, there's a two-way street. APR was a situation we dealt with at Southern. APR is a situation that most, I would say, HBCUs, in the sense of if they're not running compliance well, they're going to end up with APR issues, academic progress report. And I think the NCAA, for a lot of people, looked as if though they targeted specifically HBCUs to go in and say, you're not doing X, Y, and Z. For that, we're going to punish you. We're going to give you scholarship reduction. We're going to take this amount of, practice time away. You won't be eligible for a postseason championship and all of these things. But in the grand scheme of that actually helped our schools because we had to hold ourselves accountable when it came to graduating a lot of these student athletes that come to our school. You know, you got to have some form of accountability. And I think whether we like it or not, the NCAA coming in telling these schools, hey, we're going to hold you accountable to how you practice and what do you do in your operation when it comes to compliance. And I think for a lot of us, if we don't go by those guidelines or at least try, that's at least some form of structure for where we see it a lot of HBCUs where you think the hierarchy of structure is kind of off in terms of how they do business. But as long as the NCAA is there to be able, I feel, to be able to help guide you along, I feel like it'd be cool to stay under them. I mean, other than that, you make your money, you do everything outside of pretty much the NCAA deal unless you're doing in the basketball NCAA tournament or you're playing in a regional or super regional in baseball. But when it comes to football, it's nothing. And if you're breaking away from the NCAA in football, would that hurt us in terms of other teams wanting to play us or not play us? Because then you put yourself in a small bubble. You're going to probably be only able to play the other SWAC schools because if you're not a part of the NCAA, they're not going to keep your stats. That game never happened. You're just going to be something on the schedule, but in terms of the stats and that game counting, you're not going to have that. And I think you got to look at that. Are you willing to give that up to look like you're going to be exiled from everybody else that plays sports just to be stuck in your own world at all times with only you at any given point?
But you're already doing it. Like let's be 100% real. And I'm gonna break that.
Right.
But what you say?
We're doing it. We still have options. I can go schedule a Power 5 FBS school if I want to.
But you don't. What are you doing it for? You're not doing it to be competitive. You're doing it for the check. That's what you're doing it for. You're doing it for the $1 million. So if I can find a way to subsidize that Power 5 game and get $1 million from a donor or whatever, I've eliminated myself for having to go through that humiliation for $1 million. That's why Prime doesn't even want to go play a Power 5 school because he's like, I'm not about to go sell my kids out for a check. I'm not about to do that. My thing is this. The structure is easy. I'll take the same rules and guidelines and I'll just move them over to the HBCU if I'll take the NCAA guidelines, move it over to HBCU and I'll tweak whatever we want to. We'll tweak whatever we want to tweak. Oh, we want APR to be this much or this low, or we want recruits to be this high or this high. We'll still keep the eligibility requirements. You can take all that over. I've had companies steal their old HR rules, take it to a whole nother business, build a business off old HR rules from their last company. It happens all the time. So that's one. Two, if you already keeping I've been in the SWAC long enough to know SWAC games mean more. You know how I know that? Because every post in the SWAC group today has been about SWAC conference games in basketball. Okay. I mean, I've seen like 12 posts. They didn't have 11 games before. I didn't see 12 posts about the same two teams playing all day today. Because that's how much you care about conference games. So the outside stuff, that does not matter. Let's keep it 100. It doesn't matter. So to me, it's like if you're breaking away from the NCAA, you're breaking away from rules that you don't govern based off what you need. That's my issue because they can't govern based off you because they have such a big pool. Go ahead.
I think the issue is there's not enough money amongst us for it to just be us to do that. You know, if all schools were booming in terms of alumni engagement and donorship, and our games were televised up against these Power 5s, and we had that backing, I would say, true, let's do it. But right now, for me, my opinion, I don't think we're strong enough to just break away and say, to hell with everybody else. I don't care. You'll never have to schedule me. I don't never need you. But when you look at our basketball programs, what do? They go schedule all of these crazy non-conference games, traveling here and there, picking up a check here and there along the road. You make that much harder for you if you break away from the NCAA because these teams are looking, what are you on there? Why are you on their schedule? They're paying you because they think you're going to be an easy W. But for a lot of teams, they go in and they sneak you. Just depends who shows up. I'm paying you to lose, but you can easily come in here and beat me. But it's the opportunity to collect those checks along the way. Whether that seems beneficial to you in the moment or not, it is beneficial to our athletic budgets. If we break away from the NCAA, these schools, regardless if you like them or not, regardless if they're white or not, regardless if you even know anything about them or not, they help our budgets, they help our schools. And if they say, I don't want to schedule you because you're not a part of the NCAA, so that means this game won't count. So what am I scheduling for? Every game for those teams count, whether you think it matters for you to win the game or lose the game, it counts for them. And we need that type of funding to continue. I know a lot of people don't like the Power 5 games, but outside of football, because you're talking about breaking away from the NCAA, our athletic department's budgets aren't just these huge budgets. And we're not going to survive just with it being us. That's just the honesty to it. If that was the case, we would have been on our own doing it ourselves. If that was the platform, if that was the way. You don't think these institutions and the commissioners have thought at some point, what do we look like on our own? The same way you saw most of these big schools starting to think about, let's break away from the NCAA tournament and do our own basketball. Or let's break away from college football with the NCAA and do our own playoff. If it's successful, you'll put in the research and the time to get there and make it happen. I don't think right now that will be successful for us just because financially we cannot break away and survive on our own without at some point dipping into the pot of others.
Okay, go ahead, Kofi. I'm gonna get to his point, but go ahead. I want to hear your point.
No, I mean, now talking about instantly, absolutely not. No. You know, and I just know this because I've seen other institutions make very rash moves, including my own institution when we attempted to move to the FBS level without doing the proper research to make sure that we had the necessary infrastructure for us to be successful. And consequently, that sent our program back an additional almost 20 years, bro. 20 years. And it wasn't just football that was affected. It was literally every other sport. So it's so important. I think you take the time to do the necessary research, to come up with the information. Somebody comes up with a proposal that's a win-win deal for us, then absolutely. But right now, we are some years away from seeing the manifestation of, you know, SWAC breaking away from the NCAA and totally doing its own thing. Now, obviously, when it comes to scheduling, NAIA schools sometimes, well, some NCAA schools do schedule NAIA schools to get on their schedule or whatever. They find ways to do it. I think that obviously we could find ways to do it, but for me, it's all about the research and making sure that it's a win-win scenario and being able to look at it from all angles. Mm-hmm. What's the success? What's going to be the risk? Is the risk is the risk going to bring us a reward, or what are we willing to lose in order to get the gain that we're going to need in order for us to be successful? Because it cannot be just about one program. We're talking about all HBCUs. What happens if one institution wins 6 or 7 HBCU titles in a row?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what are, you know, how's the whole teamwork thing going to do? You know, that whole thing comes down with stuff like that. So people try to find ways, and it's just human nature to subserviate, I want to say, or break up the system.
This is my thing, right? And please, anybody in the comments, if you're a business admin major, and please help me explain myself when I say this. This is 2 parts to this. One, the school that I think will get hurt the most is PV, because now you got to break away from that Texas A&M system because they are under that umbrella. So you're going to lose guaranteed funding based off that. So I know PV would be very, very hesitant to probably do that. But this is my thing, right? There have been many of companies that have been started by venture capitalists, angel investors. There's no different than the first round of seeding when it comes to investing in a company, right? So you can have it as investing in a company, investing in a premise of like a Kickstarter or whatever, but just in a professional manner to where you can get a round of funding, a seeding funding. and you can go from there and build it as such, or take the time to get what you need, because there's enough black money out there to get you the funding you need to get. Because this is my thing, you can't tell. This is what my problem with SWAC fans. They'll be the first ones to tell you, nobody shows up like us. FCS attendance. We done led this. We done led that. We done this. We done that. But then when it's time to get on your own and get it out the mud on your own, well, I don't know if we can do that, Scotty. I don't know if we can make that. It's either one or the other. You're either going to take that same attendance and all the money you've been making, and you're gonna bring it, and you're gonna bring it to outside the NCAA, or you not. You can't be bragging about it because you got the safety net of the NCAA or whatever you want. No, it's like you either going to be like, yo, we still that team. We still going to come out and support. We're still going to do this, or you're not. Go ahead, P. Perry, it's on you.
When you look at HBCUs, how many HBCUs have their own system?
What, Southern?
So when you look, there's only one HBCU that has a system where they govern themselves, and you have all of these other schools under somebody else's system. Factor that into it in account as well. It's gonna be tough out here by yourself being a loner when we're not there yet. I know people say, well, let's break away, let's do this, let's do that. We are just not ready. I'm with you. One day, if we can do it, let's do it. I'm not making an excuse acting like I just want to be a part of this forever. One day, if we're able to get there, let's do it. But right now, we're not structurally sound, operationally, financially, and all of these other facets right now to be able to survive and do this. I know it sounds good, and I know you want us to go there. Hell, I want to go there. But right now, we just not there.
There is one other participant in the conference.
At some point, I want us to have our own and do our own, and not necessarily say we need somebody else's validation or somebody else's money or somebody else's opinion. But in today and age, when we talk about HBCUs, the first thing we reference them to is low resource institutions. How the hell low resource institutions are going to survive when it's just nothing but low resource institutions all trying to get to the top money grab? We're not there until we get out of this notion and be an accepting of calling ourselves low resource institutions at the moment. Once we get past that, then I'm with it. I'm for you. I'm like, let's do it. If we can survive, we got this attendance, we make our money, we can do our own things, I'm with it. But until we get to that point, we overhype and act like all of this is getting supported at all times. But for us to break away, do we show up to baseball tournaments, conference tournaments like that and support? Do we show up to conference basketball tournaments and support in huge numbers where we selling out places? Are we showing up to the cross country? Do anybody know where the cross country and the track championships are being held? Who cares about the bowling championship? But at our schools, we don't. But at their schools, they do. And until we get our schools to function where we care about everything and not just specifically one thing or a certain area, once we figure it out on all of these different levels and we're able to find a way to monetize it, grow, and then bring in more money, not just from tickets of football, but from donors, from student enrollment, then I think we'll be there to survive. But we just can't do it now. I'm with it, but we can't do it, man. That's like trying to live beyond your means, and you're not ready to do that.
You got anything to go, Coach, by answer any of the call lines?
Nah, I mean, Scotty's on point. I'm not Scotty. Perry's on point, man. He's valid points. Obviously it's not an instant thing. But I think thinking about it and planning for it, or at least talking about it, is necessary so that we can consider the possibilities, and grow from these possibilities, not just talk about it, but literally like grow from the possibilities. We do a lot of talking all the time, but it's time for us to grow from these possibilities. We understand how these cities are affected when you have a major successful classic in that city. New Orleans makes millions off the Bayou Classic. Birmingham makes millions off of the Magic City. Orlando makes millions, but it's obvious. Even Atlanta made millions off of the Atlanta Classic when it was up there. but how we negotiated those deals showed our inexperience in those showed our inexperience in terms of with the guarantees and what we were talking about. For instance, in the Atlanta Classic, I think the guarantee early on was like back in 1989, I think it was $250,000 for FAMU to go up there and play Tennessee State in a sold-out Bobby Dodd Stadium, where it's almost like 50,000 people. It's standing room only, and they're saying, okay, we're going to give scholarships to the kids that we sponsor. But okay, so then after they looked at it, it was like, okay, this is a sold-out game. You're bringing the band up here, you're doing this, that, and the other. But where are these kids going to school? And they, unfortunately, many of them pick PWI institutions. But looking at that, you had 46,000 just times 10 is $460,000. But the average ticket was at least $30 back then. So you're tripling that. And we're talking about a guarantee of $350,000. When Ole Miss played Florida State and Orlando a few years ago, both of those teams got $1.5 million guaranteed. And our schools are settling for $350,000 as a guarantee. It's like, that's ridiculous.
Got you. All right, I'm gonna take this first caller. Hey, callers, make sure you guys are by your phone and being ready, members first and everything like that. So, and the timer's at 3 minutes. All right, timer's at 3 minutes. So just letting y'all, give y'all a heads up. So say what you guys say and get off the phone. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to us.
Hey, how's it going, man? It's Quincy from Texas.
Talk to me.
Hey, I would say the question was, why do Black student athletes go to predominantly white schools that don't have their best? I guess historically did not allow them to go. I can answer that probably because of the recruiting profile. I just recently put my kid in college, and while he was being recruited, as much as I wanted him to go to a Prairie View A&M or or Texas Southern, he went to Tarleton, and that's because that was the people who recruited him. Now, if you take a look at, I know the SEC, they have 3 personnel who work full time for as recruitment on who these athletes that they go. Usually, they go for a large, dense population, Black areas, such as big cities, but their profile doesn't fit, athletes from smaller schools. But if you take a look at like brothers like Roland Martin, his dream school was Texas Southern. Now, Roland Martin is a leader of the Black social, media wise, and fortunately, he had to go to Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M is the #1 recruiting class that they currently have right now, if I'm not mistaken. And many of those athletes are Black. And Texas Southern, Texas A&M, they have a lot of, if you look on Texas, hashtag Texas A&M racist, you see as early as,
You got a minute left.
2020. Yeah, 2020. And these guys, as far as what's going on at their school. So, it's as far as the personnel who are trying to just go to these historically Black colleges and universities, is not because they don't want to, is that they have, if the money is at a predominantly white university, they're going to go to Texas A&M or these other schools outside of historically Black college and university, even though their heart, they want to go there. So that's all I had to say about that, man.
Hey, no problem, Q. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So pretty much what he's saying is that if you're not giving me money, I'm not going. He's like, my kid wanted to go to Texas Southern. He wanted his kid to go to Texas Southern, but Texas Southern didn't bring the money. They didn't recruit. So, and we've heard that from a lot of top players as well, that they didn't even get looked at.
Well, I would say that a lot of our institutions, I want to say as much as 2 years ago, didn't even look at the 4 and 5 star athletes just because they simply didn't believe that they would even consider their institution or consider our institutions. So then you have, Thibodeau, who, just posed the question, like, what if our top athletes started choosing our HBCUs? Then you have Dion, who comes on the table and really begins to openly recruit and successfully recruit 4 and 5 star athletes. And now the floodgates have opened up because people are seeing the opportunities that are there. But history has shown that our institutions are there, but we just have to believe that we can do it, and and go after everybody.
All right. Let me get to Coach Green. Hey, what's up, Coach Green? You live? Timer's on.
All right. Hey, I got a question for Perry and Hemingway, because I always wonder about this. How come none of the HBCUs never been FBS? Even though they was back in the day, they used to play all these FBS schools, but they never been FBS.
All right, so let me. I'm gonna repeat that. I don't know if they heard you. The question for him was, why hasn't you? Okay, Perry, did you hear him? Yeah, I can hear you, Perry. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear y'all. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll
go ahead, Coach.
Okay, so I'll say this. When it comes to FBS, FAMU, well, Tennessee State was FBS at one time back in the late 70s. And they were the only HBCU there. And they weren't, they were actually pretty successful. FAMU made an attempt to do it, but when we attempted to do it, stadium size wise, all of that stuff that many of your top HBCUs in terms of your blue blood programs, they have the stadium size, but it's not just one sport. It's multiple sports that you're going to have to be able to fund and have the infrastructure to support. Infrastructure is your trainers. Infrastructure is your academic resources. Infrastructure is the funding and scholarships for your programs. We just didn't have it. A lot of these schools play these big, I want to say the bigger schools to get a check, because those checks help to fund not only just football, but the other sports within your department. Your tennis program, your Olympic sports, all of those sports need those big game checks to be able to meet budgets so that they can travel and play the teams that they want to play. So to answer your question, HBCUs have not made the jump to FBS because we lack the infrastructure, we lack the funding to be able to sustain a program long term. I will say that McClellan does have a plan to move the SWAC to FBS at some point, but we're not there as a whole. We're not even close. We're at least 3 to 5 years away from that even really remotely being a possibility. But we got to upgrade our facilities. We've got to upgrade our academic resources. We got to upgrade our financial infrastructure and resources in order for this to be a reality.
Perry, he wanted to hear your opinion as well. I don't know if you heard the question.
I missed trying to get straight. What was
the question? The question was back in the day, why hasn't any HBCU been FBS when they played a lot of the FBS schools back in the day?
Look at just the total cost. You can look it up right now, put it on the screen, and put how much does it cost just to even be a FBS team, let alone the criteria. You got to keep a certain attendance record. I know you don't seem like it's probably kept when you look at the stands, when you're watching football games and you're watching PWIs, but a lot of those seats are sold for. It doesn't necessarily mean the fan is there, but people buy tickets to the games regardless if they're going or not. So if you're watching that Thursday night game and you're looking at a 30, 40,000 seat stadium and you're watching a mid-level group of 5 team and you're like, well, nobody's there. It's probably 5,000 people at that game. I'm pretty sure you're going to see in terms of tickets sold, people just didn't show, but their support is still to buy tickets regardless whether they showing up or not. And we got to figure out a way how to do that. You know, we got to figure out a way of everybody want to be.
I don't know about that, because watching Louisiana Monroe, shoot, they can't be selling that many tickets.
And they're not successful at the FBS level. But if you look at us as a whole, there's only about 3 schools right now, maybe 4 HBCUs that would be able to sustain, and that's Southern University, Jackson State, FAMU, and maybe A&T. Well, A&T didn't do it this year. You look at their attendance; it was raggedy. So that's it. That's 3 programs that really just across the board. I mean, how's Valley going to sustain at the FBS level?
Yeah, true. But this is my last question, and then
Texas Southern and Prairie View.
This is my last question for you, Hemingway. I heard Mr. Campbell talk about this. What's this cap that they did with y'all enrollment at FAMU in the state of Florida? How they capping y'all? How they stopping y'all from enrolling? How many students y'all want to enroll?
Well, FAMU is governed by what's called the Board of Governors in the state of Florida, and based off your academic performance as an institution, that determines how much money your school is able to get. Okay, so if you don't have the funding to properly staff your institution and to properly house your students and to properly feed your students, then you can't have a certain number of students. So it's a trick way that they've done it, but that's all the more reason why I am so adamant about our alums and just community activists to really get involved in politics, because we need those warriors behind closed doors that have the authority to sign those papers and to make those arguments to promote our institutions. And that's largely a reason why President Frederick Humphreys left the scene, because he saw where a lot of this was headed, you know, with the whole Board of Regents thing. And it didn't agree with this whole governance style, because FAMU was prospering. We were on the verge of having 15,000 students, but they found a way from a governmental level to sneak something in, and that's what they've been doing. But, you know, we're slowly but surely making that progress back. But, you know, yeah, we're upset about it. There you go.
Go ahead, Perry.
This thing is I don't know every time you do a call or whatever, but it's kicking me off and restarting it. So it's not my Wi-Fi. It's just I don't know why it started kicking me off and restarting it back.
I don't know. My bad if it is me, but hey, you know, gotta take the callers.
Yeah, well,
all right,
I'm clear for somebody, you know, so you know what's going on, but it's kicking me off and restarting me for some reason.
Got you. Okay. Hey, Mr. Ford, you live. Talk to me.
Okay, you're going to have to stop me because, you know, it's a lot y'all talking about here. I got to say something. Okay, let's get this straight right here. The biggest problem with black folks is not money. Okay, let me just give y'all some facts. Number one, black people spend $234 billion on tennis shoes yearly. Black women spend $10 billion on weave alone, and y'all saying we can't pay for something? Okay, the biggest problem that we got is that the majority, 66% of all black folks is brainwashed. This country is broken up into 2 groups. You're either oppressed or you're the oppressor. The problem with that 66% of black folks is that they identify with the oppressor. They suffer from what is called Stockholm Syndrome. Listen, there's a man down there at the University of Central Florida. His name is Frank Lepacek. Y'all need to read his stuff. He told you 20 years ago, he said the biggest plantation in America is the NCAA. Now, since he said that, here's what has happened. ESPN has relegated the NCAA to the background. The ESPN now controls Division I college sports. That's why, if you notice, them people they call the Power Five, daily they tell the NCAA to kiss their ass because they don't need them. Their money comes from the corporation. Now, let me just say a few more. I know you got the time moment. Okay. I just told you, 66% of our people are simpletons. Okay, instead of identifying with their people who are oppressed, they identify with the oppressor. That is the Stockholm syndrome. Okay, now that part you were talking about, you said about these black college basketball teams going to play all these Power 5 schools. Ain't nothing we can do if they want to be whores for them people, because that's all they doing. They being whores. And if that's what they want to do, go head on. So like I'm trying to tell you now, if we leave the NCAA, that's just like a slave leaving the plantation. So if you want to stay, then stay a slave. If you want to leave, that's freedom. Okay? Now, I was trying to write down a few more things y'all was saying. Now, you, Scotty, before I get off, do y'all have any questions for me? Do you need me to explain something?
Okay, Mr. Perry wants to say his. Go ahead, Mr. Perry. You got it.
Okay, come on.
I get the point of what you're saying, African Americans' economic impact. I get that. Nobody's saying black people don't have money, but black people don't necessarily spend money on education. We spend money on a lot of things.
That's true. That's true. That is true. Because
hold on, Mr. Ford. Hold on, Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford.
Up at New York University, whose names escape me right now, he said if you take black people out of America and put them in their own country, they would be between the 8th to the 14th richest nation in the world. So that's why I'm saying I don't buy this whole thing about no money. We are brainwashed. Them white folks brought us from Africa and made us niggers. That's our biggest problem. We are brainwashed. We worship. Listen, Scotty, let me ask y'all something. Do y'all know what the word Caucasian means? Scotty, do you know what the word Caucasian means?
I thought it was white. I thought it was another word.
Cave dweller. That's who we follow behind. A cave dweller. That's who we want to marry. That's who we bleach our skin trying to look like. A cave dweller. Listen, y'all have a good night.
All right, Mr. Ford, appreciate it.
All right.
Hey, go ahead,
Yes,
P. Go ahead. Yeah, you ain't gonna cut that off. Go ahead.
Man,
You weren't gonna be able to cut him off. Go ahead.
I
go
want
ahead.
to talk to him, but
He'll call back in. He'll call back in. Yeah, he'll call back in. If he hear what you say, he'll call back in.
well, I know about the Caucasus Mountains, Caucasians. We talking about all of that. I get that. The part that I get with him is I don't think nobody's saying African Americans, black people don't have money. We know we have money. We know our communities have it. We just, like anybody else, have a freedom to spend it on what we want. Education isn't priority for all black people. We don't necessarily, just because black people have money, don't mean we're going to spend it to education, because there's a school out there with a title called HBCU, and that means it's going to be for black excellence or to help someone black. That doesn't necessarily mean it. People going to spend it on whatever they want. I'm with them 1,000% in talking about the brainwash and having to get a better vision in terms of us as people. We got to get that. I get that. But just to say black people have money, we spend more money on religion than we do education. So it's the fact that we're not saying that we don't have money. It's just where we channel our money. If black people, if we as people spent all of our money, the power that we have towards HBCUs, of course we'll be in a better place. We made Popeyes rich off a sandwich, didn't we? We made Jordan rich off a shoe, don't we? The money's there. We make the record labels all the money, don't we? But then when we look at HBCUs, because education doesn't touch everybody the way everything else does. Education isn't for everybody. This is a small group, especially when we start talking about educating black people. It's a small group of us, because for a vast majority of people that look like us in this country, college isn't for them. So knowing about an HBCU and to know to support that and spend my money towards that does not matter to them, because that's not affecting their world. They're not a part of it. They're not looking to be a part of it. And for us, because we are a part of it, we can't expect everybody that's black to automatically associate with HBCUs when for them, education ain't the number one thing in their life the way it is. We love sports, so we follow sports. Everybody don't like sports. That's black. So it's just different factors. I believe that just because we have money doesn't necessarily mean we got to spend it because we got a title HBCU. Education ain't for everybody.
That's real. That man, listen. Hey man, you hit that. Don't talk about that church now. Woo, boy, you go listen. You go ruffle some feathers now. But You hitting it though. I should have dropped one of them praise breaks for you. You hitting it though. Hey, Coach Harp, you live. Talk to us. Your timer starts now.
How you doing, Scotty?
What's good?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's good? You live.
Okay, so
hey, hold on. Turn your background down.
Mr. Ford has said, I definitely agree with him with the Stockholm syndrome, but piggybacking on what your caller just stated, about spending money in the church. One of my professors in school told me, remember we talking about Stockholm syndrome, if we all got introduced to Christianity when we arrived to the shores of America, we didn't get good clothes, good food, good education, then why would we get this good religion? We don't need to follow that. Secondly, I would like to bring the point. So we're talking about sports, Japanese baseball. Japan was hit with an atomic bomb in the 1940s. Instead of doing like we do here in this country, try to join everyone else's culture, they went inward. They developed technology. And then if you want to invoke references of Negro League baseball, when Major League Baseball found out about Japanese baseball, instead of doing what the Negro Leagues did and said, you can take our 15th best player and he'll be a All-American there. They said, nah, this is Japanese baseball. So if you want our players, they can't come until they play in Japan for at least 8 years. You got to pay over the amount 3 times for them so we keep the sanctity of our league. So we just watched what other races did. We won't fall for these missteps all the time in regards to religion, society, sports, etc.
That's real. That's real. Anything else you got, Coach Hart?
No, I'm good.
Hey, man, appreciate the call.
No problem.
I like what Coach. I like the premise because listen. A lot of y'all in the chat ain't been to Japan. I've been to Japan. All right, I've been to Japan. I didn't see Japan baseball. It's pandemonium. Okay, if you have ever listen, if it's one thing in your life you want to go see a Japanese baseball game. If you want to know what crowd participation looks like. Go to a Japanese baseball game. They yell and scream at strikes. They be in the boy, that they be crunk. I'm telling you, strikes, balls, misses, fouls. They yell for everything. The crowd participation is through the roof. All right, telling you, it's lit. It's just a whole bunch of pale faces and they lit. I'm telling you. But the thing is. And I like what he said was that, you know, when you have something of your own and you focus and breed it the right way, that's how when MLB comes to try to get one of their players, they have to pay a fee. You know, it's like Israel. I don't know if anybody knows about Israel. You have to do 2 years in the service. Doesn't matter if you're in America or whatever. You have to go back to Israel and you have to do and the same thing in Korea, in the South Korea Army. Doesn't matter where you're at. If you're a Korean citizen, you have to come back and do your time. And I think with, you know, trying to take that philosophy and that mindset of building our own and doing it our way, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But if you guys had any comments to that, I was going to take another caller. But if you got any comments on that. Nope. Cool.
Nah, bro. No. Yeah.
Next caller. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to me.
Gentlemen, how are you doing this fine evening?
We're doing well, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I'm loving the show. I'm loving the dialogue. This is John B. again, calling from Houston, Texas. I'll be brief because I know you guys got a lot of calls. You guys have covered a lot of things. I just want to address 3 quick things, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
The first thing I wanted to address was the conversation. The first thing I talked about was kids choosing HBCUs over PWIs. I think there's one thing that we continue to do, and I'm not sure if it's done on purpose or not, but the one thing that we keep doing is that we keep trying to compare ourselves to our FCS and P5 institutions. Guys, I don't know how many times I got to say this. That's a different kind of resource. North Dakota State is about to play for their 9th NCAA FCS title in 11 seasons this upcoming weekend. They don't have the money that the P5 schools have. Matter of fact, it's not even close. And I think that Perry mentioned something earlier about kids having options, and not just LSU, they're looking at schools like McNeese and Northwestern and everything else. I think a better comparison for us would be schools in their own weight class, like the other FCS schools that are out there. Guys, you got to play these people. You got to compete against those guys. Anyway, that's the first point I want. The second point I want to make is we talk about getting more money for our schools.
One thing we talk about is raising our own monies for athletics, like capital campaign fundraisers for athletics. I'm in some of these Facebook groups, and some of these people act like that we cannot raise money for athletics, that it's not up to alumni. Why not? I think, Kofi, you mentioned something about Ole Miss earlier in the show. I think Ole Miss, this last week, they actually had a give day for athletics in which they raised a little under $2.5 million. That is just for athletics to raise money for. Now, the question I have is, why can't our schools, and I'm sure other FCS programs do the exact same thing, how come we can't raise money for athletics just as much? I think A&T did something similar a few years back. I don't remember the exact dollar amount that was raised, but this is something that programs do. They're actually putting together campaigns just to raise money for athletics. And of course, the last thing is, and of course, Kobe, I was at FAMU for grad school when y'all attempted to move to go FBS. I think the one thing that fans want to do sometimes is that they look at moves strictly from a football perspective. We have to look at athletics as a whole. We cannot continue to look at things as just football. And people understand that, yeah, we do play the money games against these FBS schools for paydays. But check this out. We do the exact same thing when we play these Division II HBCUs and other NAIA programs. We give them a paycheck as well to take a beating. So as much as we're outraged at the P5 schools for beating us down, are we going to be just as outraged at ourselves for putting these D2 schools on the schedule? And I think my time is about up. Gentlemen, thank you for the show. Keep it up.
Hey, man, perfect. Hey, that's perfect timing, bro. Good job, man. All right, we'll respond to your comments and questions. Hey, go ahead, Kofi. I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, in regards to that whole family thing, again, just there was so much into that move, bro. It was so much into that. And that whole nepotism thing, you had regents. There was this guy, Corbin, that wanted to be president of FAMU. So he got with the president. They could devise this ill-fated move to 1A. And while we were excited about it, there has to be the infrastructure and the necessary research, because as my brother stated, moving to FCS, moving to FBS is not just football, it's all your sports. So even though we compete at the Division I level on
basketball,
in basketball and baseball and our Olympic sports, there's more sports that are involved when you move to FBS, like your soccer, like your men's volleyball, these sports that, nobody's really talking about right now. But finding a way to monetize that and make money off of that is key if your program's going to be sustainable. And we just didn't do it right, man. We messed that up. Straight up.
You got anything to say, Pete, before I take the next caller? Okay, cool. Let me see. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to us. Your timer starts now.
Hey, gentlemen, how you doing? Happy New Year, Scotty, and the rest of the panel there. I can't follow behind Mr. Ford or whatever, but let me give my little quick take on what your subject matter is. The erosion from high school to PWI, from high school to HBCU versus PWI started, in my opinion, to occur like right around that late 70s, early 80s period. And as those people graduated from the PWIs, they remain loyal. So their kids, that's how they look at it. They say, okay, well, my dad went to UT Martin, my dad went to University of Memphis, my dad went to UT Knoxville. So those areas that fed, like here in Nashville, it fed Tennessee State, it's been eroded. So that chain has been broken, and where we still have people who come from those three cardinal directions of Tennessee, it's really fractured. Another thing, in terms of just looking at purely the sports part of it, I know here in Nashville, it starts at the Pop Warner level, okay? And these guys funnel these kids to the private schools here, or some of the more elite, predominantly white schools in the suburbs. And just like Mr. White stated earlier, in terms of living in those different type of areas, have been exposed to different type of areas. Those kids, when they're around, those other kids, most of those kids that say go to Debbie Lip School, that's a private school here. They're going to go to Ole Miss, they're going to go to Auburn, whatever. So that's what they're going to choose.
You got a minute.
They're going to go to Auburn, they're going to Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and then they can't get into those schools. They go the next step down, MTSU, East Tennessee State, so on and so forth. So HBCUs tend to get left out of the mix and almost become like a last resort. That's why TSU's recruiting base, at least on the read, we wait to see what Eddie does, has been primarily in Florida and Georgia, and that's just it. I mean, it's because here we might get 5, 6 kids out of Nashville area.
You got 20 seconds.
Now becoming fast, growing to be one of the recruiting hotbeds in the country. But like I said, man, all that
10 seconds.
But that's my take on it. And enjoying the show tonight, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Hey, appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Does anybody know what he said? I ain't really heard nothing he said. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
He was expressing himself.
Yeah, man.
Expressing himself. He was breaking down the whole Tennessee recruitment system, or the Tennessee athletic system, and how all that stuff is affecting everything.
Yeah, because I didn't hear none of that. I ain't even gonna lie to you. What's up, P?
I'm gonna have to let you brothers go because what a lot of people are complaining about, I gotta go support my HBCU basketball. I gotta go watch my Jaguars beat the Texas Southern Tigers. I done stayed on here long as I could for y'all, but
hey, Perry,
I gotta go do my part. All right,
Perry, tell Clark Kent I said hello, okay?
All right, y'all. Hey, appreciate the call. Hey, appreciate you being here, Perry. Appreciate you, man. Anytime.
Hey, man, anytime, man. I enjoyed it, man. It was a good time, but I gotta go do my thing, man. Let's go, Jags. Let's get this victory tonight.
Peace. All right, man. Appreciate. Hey, that was Perry White from the Jaguar Journal. Appreciate him for tuning in and kicking with us, man. For real talk. All right. So let's get to these other callers on here. Let me see. Okay, gotcha. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to us.
Hey, Scott, what's up, man? This is Duddy from Arkansas.
Talk to me.
Question for y'all. Man,
hey, 1 second, Scotty. I got to log off and log back in because everything went blank because somebody called me during the broadcast. Give me a second.
I don't know why Bamas don't put their phone on airplane mode. God, dog. You've been doing this show for like 4 months. I'm sorry, man. You gotta wait till Perry come back on. I mean, you gotta wait till Mr. KOFI come back on. His phone. Somebody tried to call him doing the stream. I don't understand. I apologize for black people being black.
It's all good.
You know what I'm saying?
It's cool,
no. It's unacceptable. This is unacceptable. All right. We as black people need to do better. All right.
You right,
man. You've been doing this show for how long? Unacceptable. What's up, Mr. KOFI? Can you hear me?
I see you was talking some trash and talking some nonsense. Talking all that nonsense when I get off, but that's all right. I see how you doing. That's all right.
Hey, go ahead. All right, caller, you good? Go ahead. He's back.
Man, Mr. KOFI was good with me in today, so whatever happened, bro, it's all good. My question is, from what I hear, HBCUs versus PWIs, is the goal or the aim separate but equal in all aspects of the institutions?
Say that one more time.
Say that again.
The HBCUs versus PWIs, is our goal separate but equal?
He said,
if we pull all our resources and say all our athletes and the whole institution as a whole, like sports and academics, if we bring all those back to HBCUs, are we not desegregating just a bit there? And then if so, are we not trying to be on the same statutes as PWIs? And if that's the case,
where does that transcend our society and culture aspects of the day?
Man, that's a hell of a question. So the question is, Kof, you said, is the goal separate but equal for HBCUs and PW?
Right. And that's why I said at the very beginning, it's important for us to define specifically what we want and what we're really trying to get out of the deal, because until you do that, you're not going to be able to get or be successful long term, or to reap the benefits of your investment. So yeah, it's interesting. We have to sit and we have to begin by having that conversation. It's amazing. I know a lot of us, just with this whole playoff debacle, I want to say the last year, our kids play in a playoff system in all of the high school sports across the country. So again, for us, if we're going to separate, we have to be able to do it, but not just do it, but do it right from an infrastructure standpoint, from a financial standpoint, so that, it's something that is sustainable. You don't go away like these other pro leagues that have come and gone, trying to do their own thing. It's not as easy as it sounds. It takes time, it takes money, it takes resources.
Okay. And so let's say HBCUs become more popular. Now, historically Black doesn't mean necessarily all Black, correct?
That is correct.
So if more races outside of Black races start to apply and want to come to these schools, does that change the dynamics of anything else that's going on?
Not necessarily, because, FAMU, I can't really speak for any other school. I know that FAMU is one of FAMU is the most diverse school within the state. There are a lot of kids that see the success rate of our pharmacy program. They become a part of that. They hear about the success of the business program. They come in to be a part of that. Journalism, they're coming to be a part of that. Our nursing, they're coming to be a part of that. So, as kids look for opportunities within the state, FAMU is an option for them, but FAMU is not going to deviate too far away from their original mission, which is to educate African American students.
50 seconds left.
And my last question would be, for those that Black students that broke down those barriers at PWIs, were they doing a disjustice to themselves for not going to HBCU, or, the doors that they opened at PWIs, were they doors that should have never been opened in the first place, and it should just still be what we had, or was that something good for the progression of Black people?
Hey man, appreciate the call. We'll answer your question. Appreciate the call though.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Appreciate you, guys.
Man, he
There's
was
a press conference right there. Press conference.
Bro, he is not. Hold on, let me bump my chair, because that man was not playing. He was like, I got questions. Like I
got questions.
I ain't got no small questions. I got questions. Go ahead.
Questions. But seriously though, we lost a lot when it came to the whole desegregation. But the reason we lost was because we didn't have a plan. We didn't have a plan. We didn't have a strong enough contingency plan to sustain our programs long term. And we didn't have the belief that we have now. So, really for us, this is a time, because of all this momentum that we have towards African Americans and HBCUs, that we seize this momentum, not just with energy, but with, I want to say, educated action, so that we don't drop the ball, and then all of a sudden we're looking up 10 years from now, we have not advanced one step. This is a time where we need to take it, where we need to take it to the next dimension and level. And guess what? We don't need everybody to go to our school. I think if you look at if you look at the University of Alabama, many of their fans have nothing to do with the University of Alabama. Most of the state, all they're saying is roll tide. You know, don't have nothing else to do but cheer on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And guess what? They feel just as much a part of the university as the people that's graduated. And they will fight you tooth and nail about their university. Do we count them as fans? Absolutely, because they're giving their money, their time, their energy, and whatever else they got towards the University of Alabama. So, yeah, if white people want to cheer on our institutions, if Asians want to cheer on our institutions, Hispanics want to cheer on our institutions, I want us to make it marketable enough that everybody does want to be a part of our institution and see what happens, but we can't get away from the original mission.
You know, one thing I wanted to touch on about the segregation, right? The segregation thing to me is we
didn't start the whole segregation thing. It'd be one thing if we started. We were thrown into it. And then, you know, when they saw that, you know, our athletic teams, I want to say, were better than a lot of their teams, you know, they found a way to throw a little monkey wrench in there.
I see it like this. If let's be a whole buck right now, right? Let's be a whole buck right now. If more HBCUs had wrestling teams, you would see a lot more white kids on the wrestling squad. There's not a lot of black kids that do wrestling. Let's be honest. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think if it'll be vice versa, right? If you want a great wrestling team, you will get white boys, right? I'm not saying black, because, you know, black people can wrestle. I'm not saying they can't, okay? It's like saying that's why 60% of Alabama A&M's team is black, because they know black athletes are better than, okay, we have that understanding. So it's not that PWIs really want to be segregated. It's not, they don't really want to be diverse. Let's be honest. They just are diverse in the areas that make them successful, right? Being diverse at football brings in over $100 million to our athletic budget. I think we might want to be more diverse. That's really what we're talking about. Because if white schools if white schools got white players that would make them the same amount of money, they would not have black players at the high rates that they do on these teams. So listen, money makes it go round. All right, money makes it go round. So in the other schools, they start doing diverse because they're like, man, if they working with black players, maybe we work with some more black players, we would do well as well. So listen, it's a trend, man. It's not really being diverse. Diversity is not 2% of your graduation rate being black. That ain't diverse. And then out of that 2%, half all of that is pretty much on a basketball team or a football team. That's not diverse. Come on, man. It's not diverse. Not even close. Let me take another caller. Hey, Ryan, you live. Talk to us.
Hey, what's up? What's going on with y'all?
What's good, man?
Hey, look, man, I'm gonna be quick. The thing is, man, with HBCUs, it's like, you know, HBCUs want to stump with the big dogs, but we're not prepared to stump with like the big schools. So meaning, like, Bethune-Cookman, their attendance is horrible. Like, if they average 7,000 people at home game, Valley the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Alabama A&M, it's horrible. Like, if their attendance is like, and a caller earlier was talking about like, oh, the white schools, they support Cross Creek. I mean, the dude you had earlier, but they don't even really support them. Football is the moneymaker. I don't care if you a white school or a black school. University of Alabama depend on football to support the rest of the program. So it's like, if we don't support football at the HBCU level, then, you know what I mean, we're not going to grow. So, like I say, it's only, 3 or 4 HBCUs that really attend their games.
Good or bad? That needs to be. I think you got to put a caveat on that. Good or bad. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody can go to a game when your team's good. Everybody wants to go then. But do you still support even when the team is not doing what you wanted it to do or look the way you want it to look? You see what I'm saying?
Got it. But look at A&M when they was hot. When they just won the SWAC.
That's fair. Yes, fair.
They still didn't go to the game.
That's fair.
They didn't go to the game. Jackson State. I mean, like I said, not with Jackson State, but they led. Jackson was trash. They've been trash for a long time, but they still led LCS in attendance in 2018 before Deion, when they was trash. You know what I mean? But that's just saying, like, like I say, FAM do a good job, and FAM need a bigger stadium though. Southern the same way. They need a bigger stadium. They got people who will go to the games, but they need a bigger stadium to support. You know what I mean?
Hey, Ryan, hold on. Kofi wants to jump in there real quick. Go ahead, Mr. Kofi.
I mean, he was making very, very solid points. He was flowing. This whole thing with, just really with Alabama A&M, when we're talking about success on that level when it comes to ticket sales and that sort of thing, I don't know what it is, but they have the city. What's needed at our HBCU institutions is marketing. Getting the word out, letting people know, compelling people to buy into your product. Huntsville is a nice sized city in Alabama. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to average at least 15,000, 16,000 people a game. But they only come to one game a year, and that's their homecoming game. And that's ridiculous.
But then on that point, Bethune in the same boat. Bethune and A&M to me is like you say, they got a lot of alumni in their own cities, in their respective cities. They have alumni in their
Daytona, yeah. But Bethune definitely should be able to average, but I don't know what the problem is. And, I almost said I really don't care that much, but I do because I want them to be, because I want them to be successful, because their success literally is a part of our success.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of have to take ownership of it. One of the things, Bethune-Cookman moved their stadium. Their stadium at one point was right next to the campus, right? So then that community could very easily basically walk from their homes and go to the games. Well, when the stadium moved across town,
man, and listen, it's a hike. It's in the middle of nowhere. When
that stadium moved, that changed up a whole lot of dynamics. That's people just don't go out that way. Now, the thing is, I do believe wholeheartedly that their attendance is about to take a major shift and a major hike, because you're going to have Jackson State coming to Bethune. You're going to have Grambling coming to Bethune. You're going to have Alabama State coming to Bethune. So all of these things it's right. I don't even know how they'd be able to hold the number of people that would be in that stadium. I mean, for me, I think that they would benefit from probably playing a couple of classic games, like playing Jackson State and Jacksonville. I think that would be huge. Or playing Grambling, maybe in Tampa, or something like that, or working something out so they can reap the benefits of that. But, I say more power to them. If they don't do it this year, I'm going to be looking at them real side-eye, because they got the blue blood programs coming to their campus.
All right, look, let me just get two more things. How much time I got, Scott?
Well, you said you was going to be quick, so I ain't put the timer on you, but go ahead. You got a minute.
Real quick, two more things. First thing with the MEAC, like I said, I know a lot of South Carolina State people in the text now, but like y'all don't go to y'all games. Like that's why y'all don't get
let me tell you something about South Carolina State. South Carolina State normally has strong attendance, but the university as a whole was experiencing such craziness, bro, from a leadership standpoint. Like literally they almost shut down the institution. They got all the way down.
My girl went to South Carolina State. She graduated from there, so I understand all that. But they still don't go to the games. They don't. Recently, they haven't been going to the games.
That level of energy, when you don't have money to market, you're not going to do well. But more importantly, without that money, you're not going to have the level of engagement that school and that program really does deserve. But I guarantee you, come this fall, Dawson Bulldog Stadium will be back to normal.
All right, your last point, Ryan.
My last point. Scotty, man, same thing with the playoffs. I've been telling you, I never was a fan of the playoffs. And now you had a caller call, maybe about a month ago, and he was like, I don't think you understood him. He was saying like the playoffs really don't mean anything because, okay, the FCS playoffs, because okay, they win the LCS playoffs. Okay, well, can you beat Alabama? Like, what's the you? Okay, you the best in the second tier of college school. Can you beat Alabama? Can you beat Georgia? So like, my whole thing has been the HBCU. If this whole conversation is about the HBCUs branching off and doing our own thing, like having our own playoffs and crowning our own national black champions, let's rock with it. I'm with that. Like, yeah, let's do that. But to be a part of the LCS playoffs that don't pay anything, like, no, man, screw that. Because again, okay, you win the LCS playoffs. What that mean? You the best second place team? Like, can you go to the BCS and beat Georgia or Alabama?
Come on,
no.
Ryan.
So
that's not. But that you think that's the goal for North Dakota State, bro? Like, come on, bro. Like
but what is it? But Scotty, think about it. What is it? Okay, North Dakota State. If they win the FCS championship. Okay, you won. You're the best out of what?
Listen, bro. Listen. You can't get mad at them for being the best. Listen, bro. If Jackson State would have won the, hold on. What? No, your argument. Let me. Hold on. Your argument is skewed because if you would have went to the Celebration Bowl and beat South Carolina State, what you the best between the SWAC and the MEAC? Like, come on, bro. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, listen, let me explain. Please let me explain. Got it. No, but it would have been if we would have won and we would have beat South Carolina State, we'd have said we are the best HBCU team.
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie because North Carolina IT is not in it. Hampton's not in it. There's teams it's a skewed argument.
Well, that could be skewed, but my whole point is but North Dakota State argument at the same time, and they're not even getting money for it. It's saying, okay, we're the best, second division team? Like, you're not the best team in college football. So regardless, you know what I mean? It's going to be skewed.
No, because that means you're going to say that about D2 schools and D3 schools. But appreciate the argument, Ryan.
Of course.
No, that's such a bad argument, bro. That's such a bad argument. So you're good. Like, you're the best in your pool, okay? You're the best in your pool. That means the Celebration Bowl, you're the best of what? All the black? That's a lie because you don't play all the black schools. That argument is so skewed on every single level. It's just bad. It's bad. It's bad.
Celebration Bowl champs.
Come on, man. It's bad. All right, where we at? 0851. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to me. Your timer starts now. 0851, you live.
Hang up.
All right. Next up, okay. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to me.
Yo.
Hey,
what's going on?
What's good, man? Your timer starts now.
All right, brother Hemingway.
Yo.
I'm Bobby from Tampa, Florida A&M alum. I got my notes here, so I'm gonna stay on my little time.
Got it.
History is not old, and it's a narrative that white America likes to try to put out there that history is old. History is not old. My mother was the first black student to attend a public white school in the state of Florida. So I've had a constant reminder growing up that my mom was the first black student to attend a public white school in the state of Florida. It's not old. She's a FAMU alum as well, at Fox Jones Hall. The at-home education is key because we can't depend on anybody else to teach our children what is cool, what's not cool, where to go, where not to go, steer them in the way to go. The problem is, as Mr. Ford so eloquently put, is Stockholm Syndrome. We fought to be a part of a system that hates us. So when most blacks were attending HBCUs and then we started integrating into white schools, the mindset was that you were doing something better than an HBCU because you got into an Alabama, a University of Florida, an FSU, University of Georgia, where the HBCUs were still doing the same work, doing better work in most cases. But because you were doing something different, they felt like it was better. And that attitude just progressed over years and years and years and years. And that's why you have some people who will fight you tooth and nail about a PWI, Alabama, Florida State. Never even been to the stadium before.
50 seconds.
Let alone, can't even tell you the address of the campus. Nothing, but they are the biggest fan. You go into their house, you go into their man cave, it's all on the wall, right? And a problem that we have within our community is we're the only group of people who shame each other for supporting ourselves.
Yo, let me stop you right there. I gotta stop you right there. Akila just said that, like, yo, right before I got on, she said, I have never experienced anything like that. She said to where we as black people clown people so hard for wanting to be a part of something. She said it's no different than when black people don't know how to play spades and you try to invite them in and then people like, you don't know how to play? That's the black thing. How you not know? Da da da. Bro, what you're speaking on right now is so true. I'm sorry I cut you off, but that is such a fact, bro. I paused the time because I really want you to hit home on that topic. Go ahead. I paused your time. Go ahead.
Yeah, it really was my last point. It's, you know, we never talk bad about a Mormon who wants to attend BYU or a Catholic who wants to attend Notre Dame, but you tell a black athlete or black scholar that they're going to attend FAMU, Southern, Jackson State, you'll go, oh, is that the best school for you? Yes, it is. But we can look down like they're doing something negative because they're attending our schools that were made for our people in a time which nobody else wanted us. And it wasn't that long ago, is my point, when they did not want us. They have and they have chants, they have mascots, they have sayings, t-shirts that any other group of people in America would be pissed about. I'm talking about cancel culture. If cancel culture was a real thing, University of Florida, FSU, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, Alabama, they would have been canceled. You know, I put in the chat, I'm not sure if everybody got a chance to see it. University of Florida had a chant called Gator Bait. If people knew what the history of Gator Bait was, nobody would ever say it because it's horrific. It's terrible. They used to take babies, black babies, and hang them over the water for alligators to grab them. And they used to refer to the black babies as gator bait. That's where the term stems from. But they used to chant this at games.
Openly. The band played a song called Gator Bait.
But they fought the chant in the same way that Ole Miss fought having that soldier running out on the field. It's terrible. And if we taught our children the right way, like what is truth, I believe that they would make better choices as it relates to their education and not look at our schools as something as lesser than. Because in the state of Florida, no other college has ever gotten College of the Year. No other school, FAM will offer a student in the state of Florida. I'm speaking on my school. I can't speak on nobody else's school. Can offer a student the exact same opportunity as any other school in the state and do it for a cheaper price. So who looks like the fool in the boardroom? The person that paid $100,000 for the education, sitting in the chair, or the person sitting across from that paid $50,000 for the education? I can speak for myself in the state of Florida, Pinellas County, one of the worst counties in America for African American males. You can Google that. You know, no other school wanted me. I work in higher education now. I've witnessed students cry about not attending schools that don't want them. Like, that is terrible. How are you a fan of a school that would never accept you?
Come on now.
And you're talking about a history of the school not even wanting you there. And then in today's time, if they don't, once they meet their number, their quota, they're done with you. They don't have the same admission standards for all students that attend higher education. It's like every school doesn't have the same admission requirements for all their students. I've witnessed it. So, you know, people need to get off of that, and people need to really get into their education, learn their history, stop letting people make it seem like it's 100 years ago. No, it's like 50 years ago. You know, everybody knows somebody that dealt with some level of Jim Crow.
That's facts.
Because they're still alive.
That's facts.
You know, it's not ancient history, it's modern history.
Man, you appreciate. Hey, man, appreciate the call, Bobby, man. Real talk, bro. Appreciate the call.
Y'all have a good night, man.
Hey, man, you
Great
too.
show.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Hey, man, listen, that's what it's about, man. You know, like breaking down history like that. I never knew that. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's stuff that if my son, like now, like now I know, right? So if my son's like, Dad, like I want to go to University of Florida, I'm like, boy, do you know? Like I can speak to situations now because I've been enlightened on the situation of Florida. You know what I'm saying? Or what they're doing or what they're trying to do. But I think the biggest thing to me was like, he said, you're going to go to a school that never wanted you. They were built off never wanting you. Now, because they see what, you know, a little diversity gets them. Now they want you. Oh, you know, back then you didn't want me. Now I'm hot, they all on me. You know what I'm saying? I think Prophet Mike Jones said that. Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot, they all on me. You want to say something, Kofi, before I take another caller?
Nah, bro. It's just we gotta step up, man, with our knowledge and a love for ourselves. You know, that's what this is about.
Big time.
No, because they see.
What's up, Smash Live?
What up, Scotty?
What's good?
I got COVID. So I'm with my bad voice in the rest.
You got COVID? Oh no, I can't take this call. Oh no, you got to get out. Just messing with you. Go ahead.
Nah, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. But yeah, man, the whole history lesson he gave, you know, I'm big on the history shit. If you think that's something, the schools that surround Jackson State are in Mississippi, period. You wouldn't want to see your school to no kid there. Shit. But anyway, I like this whole topic about taking the NCAA away. I'm with it. You know, I'm all about giving schools a chance. You know what I'm saying? Giving us a chance to do something different. I also got a question for y'all. And I won't be long at all. So I see how everybody had an uproar when FAMU crowned itself, or the people crowned FAMU the national black champions, right? Even though they, you know, lost in the playoffs and they lost to Jackson State. I want y'all's personal opinion on who y'all think would have been the better team of the year if FAMU would have won the playoff and if Jackson State would have won the Celebration Bowl, because I know if that shit would have happened, it'd have been even crazier going to next year. So, y'all, who y'all think would have been the better team and why? I just want both of y'all opinions on it, just to kind of like get on this attention, to break your attention. So I kind of want to know. So,
all right, appreciate the call.
Got it. All right.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'll tell you right now, if FAMU would have went in and beat the Walter Payton Award winner, I don't give a damn what Jackson State would have had to beat South Carolina State by 50. Like, I ain't even gonna lie to you. They would have had to beat them boys 50-3. I ain't even gonna lie to you. They would have had to beat them like they beat Alabama A&M. Yeah. If they would have beat them like they beat Alabama A&M, I would have get. But if FAMU would have walked into Southeast Louisiana and beat the Walter Payton Award winner 20-17, 24-21, where they averaged over 35, 40 points a game, yeah, I would have to give it to FAM. I would have to give it to FAM hands down.
I'm in agreement with you, sir. You know, but I'm a homer. Now, here's the deal. You still would have had, I think FAMU would have had the better team. I still think FAMU had the better team. But at the same time, I mean, Jackson State beat us. So if Jackson State wins the Celebration Bowl, they're straight up are the champion. But in terms of me thinking who had a better team, it would be FAMU.
All right, got you. Let me see. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to me. Your timer starts now.
Hey, what up, Scotty? It's Jerome from Charlotte.
Talk to me.
Representing Jackson State. A couple of quick things, man, from the previous caller that called in. Kind of wanted to piggyback off a couple of things. Number one, I definitely agree with your sentiments and KOFI. It does seem as if, in a sense, like we're the only race of people that does not teach our kids our history at home, as compared to Hispanics, Native American, Jewish kids, and yet we demand the school system to kind of teach us these things. Of course, they're not going to. But I think that the onus of that is definitely on us as parents. All of that stuff starts in the home, and essentially we kind of sow that seed into our kids, and of course then they'll make the best decision, regardless of their student athlete or just regular student, of which institution they're going to matriculate at. Number two, I went to Google, man, and Money Magazine has a top 50 list of colleges and universities that are the best for African Americans. And what's striking is that you don't see a Power 5 school ranked in that top 50 list until like number 30. It's filled with HBCUs and of course the Dukes and maybe some Ivy League schools, but those are some of the tidbits that we need to be teaching our kids as well, whether they're a student athlete or not. But going to Kofi's point as far as attendance, I think we have to take Jackson State out of that equation, because Jackson State is definitely a different type of animal in a sense. On the campus, it was the only Black hospital on the campus in Central and North Mississippi. For all the Black people, if you didn't have a midwife, you were born there on the campus, and that produces all of that support that we've seen down through the decades, on top of course, the athletic dominance. But as far as, like Alabama A&M or Alabama State, I think because those schools don't have that type of winning tradition in football that spans down through the decades, that may kind of attribute to, because it takes a while to build up a fan base. It's not like, oh, we've been winning 2 or 3 seasons. We want to average 20,000 fans. It takes years, to build that. And if you're at that point where you don't have that fan base, you got to start ground level. You got to start with the freshmen. You can't wait until the students, are about to graduate, for the alumni to come and say, hey, join the NAA or come support. You got to start with the freshmen, because those kids that are juniors and seniors, they're ready to leave. My last point, since we're moving into the spring, as far as, spring sports, let me ask you guys a question. So when it comes to branding and this whole thing about NCAA awareness and this revenue, do you guys feel it is time, because I definitely feel it's time, for the MEAC and SWAC to discontinue our basketball and baseball tournaments? And the reason why I say that is because we've had several instances over the last decade where a really horrible team in the conference will luck up and win like a 3 or 4 day conference tournament, and they'll make it to the NCAA tournament and they'll get embarrassed. It kind of happened in the spring with the baseball as well. Jackson State baseball, HBCU national champions, they finished like 34-9, and they had a double elimination games all throughout the tournament. But on that Sunday, it was a 1 elimination game, and they lost. And then, of course, that team went and advanced and didn't do too well. So wouldn't it make sense for us to send our best representation to the NCAA tournament? Because when you think about the amount of revenue that's generated just from one win in the NCAA tournament, like, it's crazy. Like, actually, it's more, I believe it's almost just as large or bigger than the Celebration Bowl payout. So how do you guys feel about that?
Okay, so it's funny you asked about that, because I just did the research on it today, and I did it for the basketball, because I talked to Mr. Campbell, and he was like, he said the reason why they wouldn't break away is because of the NCAA and the basketball tournament. Well, how the NCAA bases it is off a 6-year system, and they do it off a unit system. So it depends on how many teams and you get in that unit or in those 6 years. So it's really not about the wins at first. It's really just about how many teams you get in. So I think the ACC over a 6-year span, they had like 82 teams over 6 years get into the tournament. And that could be 10, 15, 1 year, 9, whatever. And they had a total of like 14 million. And then when I read down to the SWAC, and I can bring that chart up for everybody to see. When I went down to the SWAC, they had one every year. Then they got two in, I think 2010 or 2011. They got two teams in, and then they got one. And that 1% of the basketball funding budget was $1.2 million. So that's what they were giving out, the 1% of the budget. So yeah, so yes, you're right. You get about as much as the Celebration Bowl, but could you not find that and could you not find that with the right promotion and marketing? Could you not find that doing your own thing? You know what I'm saying? So it goes both ways for me, but that's just me throwing it out there. But yeah, I did a little research.
I like that. So you're saying doing our own thing for basketball as well?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, because once again, like, don't get me wrong, is a run in the NCAA tournament historic? Absolutely. If Texas Southern or Southern had a fam or had a team that could run the table and win 2-3 games in the NCAA, that's historic, in its own right. It's like Eastern Shore beating the #1 team of the year that one year. Like, that was historic. That's never not going to be talked about. But they probably got what? $1.5 million from the entry point to that win. So you got, so maybe $1 million to get in, another $500,000 for the win. Well, why not just do our own thing, keep it in house, and see how much you can get off tickets and all that type of stuff. But that's all. It's all projections at this point. It's like KOFI said, doing the research behind it. It might be a 3 or 4 year project to be like, okay, if we did a CIA AA tournament in our own version, how much would we get from that, and how much would it do? And then you see, like, is it worth it or is it not worth it? But who knows?
So do you think, with that being said, we should kind of position ourselves for that lucrative lucrative outcome by sending our best teams to those tournaments by eliminating the conference tournaments?
I think the only way you get into it is winning your conference, though. If it's for an automatic bid, if you got to win your conference tournament to get into the NCAA March Madness tournament as an automatic bid.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can't even get in without winning without winning a conference tournament.
Are there any Division I programs that don't have a conference tournament?
As an independent, I
want to say the Ivy League did away with their conference tournament, right?
No. Princeton. I think Princeton won that. No. Yale won. I think Yale won last year, either that year or the year before. Because if you remember, Yale made a run. They had that black head coach, and I think they won like 2 or 3 games in the NCAA tournament. They made a run. So, but you have to win your conference to But I don't know, man. I got to do a little bit more research on it. But I know for a fact you have to win your conference to get an automatic bid. But your strength of schedule also plays a factor as well outside. But usually those smaller conferences, they only send their conference winners. Like, that's why it's so important to win your conference, because you'll have your Davidsons, you'll have your Virginia. What's the team that the white guy used to coach?
Virginia State, Virginia Union.
The one that was doing
VMI.
No, Virginia Union.
Was it Virginia Union, the one that was doing all that pressing that one year, got all the way to the Final Four, the Final 8?
Virginia Union. North Carolina Central won the title one year.
Yeah. So VCU, you know what I'm saying? So those type of, VCU. So that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So it's for the March Madness, most of the time it's winning your conference. And then depending on how good your conference is as a whole, that's how you get other teams into the tournament as well. But a lot of times the second team or lower conferences don't get in because of the strength of schedule is not that good, compared to a team in the ACC that's the third best team in the ACC, and you didn't play Duke, Michigan, Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? So it's just stuff like that.
And I guess we just don't have that luxury, because of course those other, and it's not just the Power 5 conferences that are receiving multiple bids. It's also a lot of those mid-majors. So I guess collectively, as the conference within the MEAC and SWAC, we have to do a better job of getting our schools to buy into the reasons to build a better basketball program from top to bottom, so we can get those multiple bids. and get a couple of, out of conference wins, because that does hold weight as well, especially with Texas Southern, what they've been able to do the last couple of years. But I agree, man. Good points.
Hey, appreciate the call, Jerome, and shout out to Texas Southern for beating Florida this year. All right, we're going to take 2 more callers. All right, we'll take 2 more callers because it's getting late. All right, I haven't seen this guy before, so I'm gonna take him, and then I'm gonna take 59849651. Those are my last 2 callers. Anybody else? You're gonna have to call back some other time. All right. So 5984 and 9651. Or this is what you can do. If you want to super chat $20, you can skip the line and you ain't gotta worry about no last callers. All right. So I'm gonna give you a chance to do that. So if you want to skip the line, you can super chat $20 and you can skip the line and you can get your call. If you want to be heard that bad, you can do that. But if not, just hang up. All right, just hang up. So let me see who I got. Who did I pick? 59849. Okay. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to me.
Hey, this is Lane from Houston.
Talk to me. Your timer starts now.
There's a lot of you talking about how a lot of athletes go to PWIs courses, resources. When I was at PV, I ended up finishing my 4 years at PV. Then I went to U of H, and it's something like basically with nutrition. Like they had us eating different. I had a nutritionist coach saying, "Hey, look, you take conditioning. This is what you're gonna work on." So it's just something simple like that. But also, I even seen like with the history portion with it. You see this at the University of Texas. They're trying to get rid of the Eyes of Texas. When Caleb Stearns actually read the history of the Eyes of Texas, they ousted him. They said they need to kick him off the team and they need to do certain stuff. They totally turned their back on him. And to go with that, my dad, he's a PV alum. We both graduated from prison.
Mm-hmm.
He graduated in 75. During that time, in 1970, that's the first African-American, athlete, the first letterman. So he also told me, like, he wanted me to, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but also in the work world, you may want to have, some of these schools, some of these companies, they look down on HBCU. So he's like, you may want to go to a PWI, so you can say you did it at both. So he had a fellowship to go to UT, and when he went there, there's a professor. His name is R.L. Moore. He told my dad, he said, when you're African American student, you're starting off with the 70s, you can only go down from there. So he was there, he was like, this is on his visit, he's like, man, the guy told me that, he said, you know what, I'm not going to UT, I need to get out of Texas anyway. He ended up going to Iowa State. He's like, Iowa State was open arms to him, but he also said, look at the business thing. Right, so just in case in the business world, they talk down to HBCU, he's like, well, hey, I went there. Oh, no, I thought you went to PWI. Well, I did it at both. There's a lot of things that people don't read about history on it. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Hey, no problem, man. Appreciate the call, though.
No problem.
All right, last caller. Hey, caller, you live. Talk to me. Your timer starts now.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I just got a question, and I'm going to get out of here. But first thing I want to say is, of course, we know the narrative is changing with HBCUs, but Deion Sanders and, of course, what we've seen with Travis Hunter. But I think one of the reasons why top recruits are going to PWIs is because, for one, they're not thinking about the history of these schools. When you see Nick Saban come to your front door, you're not thinking about the history of Alabama. When you see Lane Kiffin come to your front door, you're not thinking about the history of Ole Miss. But, I see what everybody else is saying. These guys just need to start educating themselves. But I just had a real quick question. I want to get Kofi's opinion on this. I was on Instagram, and I seen a post on Support Black Colleges. And they made a post saying, can there be a new HBCU created? And I just wanted to get y'all's opinion on that, and especially Kofi's, and what does he think about that? Could a new HBCU be created? Of course, the schools we got now, we're trying to keep building them up and making sure, they keep the money in the schools, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I was looking through the comments, and I've seen a lot of people saying, no, if we do get one, it should just be called a predominantly Black institution because it's not historic. And
That's
that's
dope.
it, man. That's all I wanted to
A
know.
PBI. That's
Yeah,
dope. Hey,
yeah,
appreciate the call.
but all right, the same, bro.
All right, man. I like that.
Yeah.
That's dope.
It's a play. It's a play on semantics. You know, but they're doing it. Like up in Michigan, they're starting a predominantly black institution up there, and they're doing one out west as well. I think people are seeing the trend, and they're quote unquote trying to make money off of it as well. States are seeing the need of our people taking a part in that, and you know they're trying to get money from it as well. But you know, historically means historical. So after they start, then I guess that they would have some history. So I guess they would be historical. All right.
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. If the smart thing is if you start one in California, because you know them Democrats out there gonna give you some money because they'll be like, oh, my brother, man, you trying to start an HBCU? They gonna be handing you funding all out the wazoo. So yeah, I would, man. Listen, if I could do that, I would do it tomorrow. I would have done it yesterday. All right. But yeah, anything else you want to say before we get up out of here, Kofi? This is a great topic, man. I didn't know it was going to hit like this, but
bruh,
it was a great topic.
Bruh, that was some kind of deep, bruh. A lot of people had heartfelt comments, man, and we just need to continue the narrative, man, continue the conversation because it's time. It's time for us to make the shift. It's a new year, 22. It's time for that double. Let's go.
That's what's up. All right, so Kofi, y'all doing a bowl striking bowl zone again? What we doing this Wednesday? What we doing?
Yeah, we doing the bowl and strike thing.
All
right. It's coming on this week. Yeah, we're gonna be on this Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock. We'll be on this Wednesday at 8 o'clock p.m.
All right, Tuesday. I'm gonna make my. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna make my announcement. But hey, man, appreciate you, Kofi, for checking in with me always. My co-host for the Afterglow show.
Love you, man.
And love you too, my guy. Make sure y'all go check out the Bowling Strike Zone on Wednesday. At Wednesdays.
Boy, the way I'm gonna get you.
Wednesdays on Facebook and on YouTube, man. Make sure you check them out. Them guys are pretty funny. Everything FAMU, all right? But appreciate it, Kofi. Take it easy, man.
Love you, guys, man. Peace.
All right, listen, guys. I'm gonna make these announcements. I'm gonna get up out of here. I'm gonna repeat my announcement. Hey, make sure you join the OFFScript membership. You already know the links in the description below. Anything can support anything that you give or does go to the channel. I appreciate all the support. $4.99, $9.99, and $19.99 of the 3 layers. You can give anyone you want. Wednesday, Andrew Body, all right, will be in attendance. January 5th, live interview here, all right, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 Central Standard Time. I told Kofi he don't want to go against me with this interview, okay, because the Bowling Strike Zone ain't going to be able to see me on this one. The Bowling Strike Zone ain't going to, you listen, you're in the wrong time slot, Kofi. You're in the wrong time slot. All right, Everyday Entrepreneur is starting up as well, okay? If you're interested in being interviewed on the channel as an Everyday Entrepreneur, please email me at support@itsoffscript.com, okay? Put your name, a quick synopsis of what you do. You could be a truck driver, a lawyer, doctor, dentist, a professional bowler, like I don't care. All right, just CEO, VP of a major Fortune 500 company. Just want to talk about your successes, your ups, your downs, your trials, and teach one, reach one. All right, simply that. And also bandwagon signing day, January 24th. All right, listen, my top 5 schools are Southern, Grambling, Alabama A&M, FAM, and Jackson State. If you're not part of that 5, you probably shouldn't send me anything because I'm probably not going to pick your school. All right. If you would like for me to, if you would like to, how you say, put your school in the forefront or push my bandwagonist to your side, please send me some merch or some gear, shirts, hat, pins, paper. It does not matter. I take all. Slut me out, okay? It's that easy. My address is in my description below as well. You can send me whatever merch or product that you want for your school for me to pick. For me to pick your school. All right. Alcorn is not in there. Sorry for ya. How do you upgrade your membership? You probably got to cancel and then buy the next level. All right. That's what I would think would happen. So Who's Andrew Body? Who's Andrew Body? Just one of the hottest young quarterbacks in the game. Who's Andrew Body? Ha! Ha! Dr. Lori Wilson, she said she sent hers. She said, we gonna win. She said, whatever FAMU does, we gonna win. And we gonna do it better than everybody else. All right. So that's what it is. Once again, guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And listen, baby, you think I should announce it? Or should I hold on to it? I'm asking you, should I announce it? Okay. So make sure you go to I got a special announcement on Wednesday. All right. Make sure you tune in for the Andrew Body interview. All right. Because I have a special announcement. I might do it before. Now I'm gonna do it after. I'm gonna do it after the interview. So you gotta make sure you tune into the whole interview. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make a special announcement after the interview. All right. Special announcement after the interview. Oh gosh. She said if the lights are at an appropriate amount, then I can make the announcement. All right. MEAC challenge gear. I'll take some MEAC gear. Listen, I will take some MEAC gear. Let's go. Oh God. Here comes the light police.
I'm not gonna say that about your lights today. I've been working on my own stuff. MEAC family, we are accepting invitations from you all as well. As you know, the SWAC has a very love-hate relationship with my dear loved one. Hey, EA. Yes, MEAC, please email support at It's OFFScript. I will be more than happy to partner with you so that we can build a rapport and then we can highlight Scotty in the best light possible. Okay?
If the SWAC keep treating me the way they do, other than Dr. Lori Wilson and Miss Howard, the rest of you guys, and Ty too. So yeah, but I'm just saying, like Ty hooked me up, but Miss Howard hooked me up, Miss Lori, Miss Wilson.
You want to do this?
I'm just saying, shout out to you guys, because if not, I would be a MEAC.
Are they FAMU glasses? Well, Jaron, I will say this. When I was new to the SWAC, because my hours boosted after going to Valley, so I'm not new any longer. I was so Alabama A&M. They were like the sibling I had found. But then I went to continuous games and I was disappointed by the score, not the coaches and not all of the players, but some. And then FAMU, being the shining rattlers that they are.
She jumped on the bandwagon.
They hugged me. Ty said, don't do this. So while I have not made a decision either, because I have to wait until the 24th, I will say that A&M, if y'all don't step y'all stuff up, you're losing one. And I mean you're going to lose one. I'm going to rock every gear that Miss Dr. Lori has purchased me with the keychain. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to learn is this it, honey? Is that it?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to Mr. KOFI, but I'm gonna learn that if y'all don't get y'all stuff together. So I'm gonna be fair and I'm gonna wait. Yeah, I went to Valley, but it was a good game. It was a good game. Really good. It was a really good game. And Jackson State, y'all know y'all are like my second cousins twice removed. So, special place in my heart for you guys as well. But other than that, it's back to you, baby. And like the stream, please. Thank you.
You see what Blue said?
I am outside. Blue. Oh, you gotta.
Yeah. I'm gonna reach out. Okay. All right, Blue. I'm gonna call you right after this live stream. All right. Hey, until next time. You know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna holler. God bless.